Hi, and welcome to a plug for the Media Obscura podcast.
What?
I know, you thought I was just going to start an episode, but this is a plug.
So weird.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is not the podcast you thought you'd be listening to right now. It's a plug for a different one, but we'll let you get to your show really soon, I promise. My name is Nick. This is my faithful co-host, Mike.
Hey.
He isn't allowed in the state of Utah for reasons that I can't even fully disclose.
No, you can't.
I just don't understand them,
It's
honestly.
illegal.
So anyway, on our show, we check out old and obscure retro movies, and we talk about them. Now, I know you're wondering, well, who are you to consider something obscure? You know, what's obscure? Well, honestly, it's an excuse for us to watch just the weirdest stuff we can get our hands on, as well as a couple of old classics, and then banter about it. So if that's your cup of tea and you want to check it out, give us a listen.
Of course.
And here's your show. And bye.
Love you.
Hi, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Trevor, and welcome to Catching Up on Cinema. If you're not familiar with the program, Catching Up on Cinema is a podcast wherein Kyle and I take turns introducing each other to films. And in this way, we help one another to catch up on our cinema. That being said, today we will not be doing that. Neither of us will be catching up on new cinema.
This month, at least.
This month, we are going to be taking a deep dive into the Alien franchise of films in something we like to call a Masterclass series. And essentially, what that is where we take a look at a franchise of films from beginning to end and just kind of go through each entry in the series and say a little something about it, or a whole lot of somethings, because I think we went about 2 hours on that first Alien movie. So that being said, today we're going to be talking about 1986's Aliens, directed by James Cameron.
Ever heard of him?
Yeah, kind of a big deal. Made all the money in the world. Is apparently planning on making like 6 more Avatar movies. We have yet to see a number 2.
Who could care?
Yeah, I know. I think he's threatening to put Sam Worthington in it again. He's threatening to employ Sam Worthington, who I was calling him Sky Marine for a little while because it seemed like that was his destiny, was to forever just be the Avatar guy.
I know a lot of actors listen to this podcast, and if you're out there being approached or trying to get into the James Cameron Avatar movies, why don't you just go ahead and get points on the back end and not take a salary for this? Because good or bad, that next Avatar movie is going to blow up the box office, I would say.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Points on the back. Points on the back end. Do that.
Yeah, do the Jack Nicholson Joker routine.
Oof.
You will get paid.
You will get paid. No, deal with Jim Cameron. Just take the abuse. I don't know how bad. I don't know if he's an abusive director.
I don't think he has that reputation. I know he likes his technical toys.
I think he's a tight ass. He's not mean. He's not the other guy. He's not real bad, but I think he's just very particular, like a Kubrick. Like he's like no. I want it done exactly my way.
You know, that's actually really fascinating because as much as I've enjoyed many of his products over the years, I actually have very little insight into his character as a director. It seems like he gets along with folks, though.
Well, much like Michael Bay, he's putting together like big box office hits, and he's like probably a no bullshit kind of guy. Is like, we're here to work, get this shit done, turn your fucking phones off.
Yeah, except for unlike Michael Bay, well. No, that's not true because we're getting Bad Boys 3. He's done multiple Marky Mark films. Mm-hmm. What I was about to say about James Cameron is I get the sense he's a decent person to work with because he's retained talent over the years, like Bill Paxton and Michael Biehn and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver.
So usually if you can retain those kind of relationships, that means that you're a decent guy to work with.
They all seem pretty sweet. Seemed pretty sweet, one of them. Bill Paxton seemed like he was probably a really nice guy. Same with Sigourney Weaver. She seems really nice. Michael Biehn. I don't know what he's up to these days.
Michael Biehn seems like a decent guy.
Yeah.
I've seen him in more modern day interviews. Mm-hmm. He was involved in the production of the Aliens Colonial Marines computer game, which was, holy shit, that is a story for another day. It's an example of like corporate espionage type shit.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it was a game that resulted in a lot of people losing a lot of money and having a lot of resources stolen from them. But yeah, Michael Biehn reprised his role as Hicks for that game, and I guess he was very dissatisfied with the programmers of that game. He was like, they lack passion.
Well, I appreciate that.
No, but yeah, this movie on the previous episode I mentioned I think this is my favorite in the Alien franchise. I actually put it above the first one. Kyle respectfully disagrees.
Not by much, but yes.
But yeah, in a lot of ways, it's kind of hard to think of these films in isolated terms these days. That obviously wasn't the case when they were new, but in my mind, they always are kind of a package deal.
Yeah.
And that kind of spilled over into our discussion last week because I found myself bringing up Aliens, and I found you not stopping me and saying, whoa, we're not talking about that.
No, it's gonna come up, yeah. There's gonna be just a little bit of splicing and overlap.
But yeah, this film, it needs to be said, came out 7 years after the first film in the franchise, which of course was not a franchise until the release of this film. And I think that's definitely worth noting. It's very rare in our current Hollywood climate that a film franchise gets to rest that long before it gets an immediate, usually we get an immediate sequel of some sort. So I feel like maybe that's part of what made this one special, is that we crossed over firmly into another decade of filmmaking with all sorts of, technical developments and tone shifts in the country of origin and all that. Like, the cultural climate was radically different. Most notably, distance from the Vietnam War, which probably made it easier to make an allegorical story based around that conflict in some ways. But I feel like having that resting time and having James Cameron, who was at the time kind of at the peak of his powers, come at this thing with passion, to the extent that, if I remember right, he also wrote this film in addition to directed it.
Yes, I do believe so. But just real quick, I just wanted to point out what he was doing at this point was just crushing it.
Piranha 2.
Piranha 2, Exogenesis. I'm not sure what that is. I'm kind of curious now. Interesting. I'll read the plot later. The Terminator came out 2 years before this, 1984. And I was looking this up to see what he did in between, because filming for Terminator was most likely late 82, early 83.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And then I'm guessing it was a summer release. Most likely, or Christmas Day, who knows. But this came out in 1986, and I thought maybe he had something in between. He didn't. And then he had Martini Ranch, I don't know what that is, and then The Abyss, and then Terminator 2. So it's like boom, 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 like one right after the other, like pretty much killing it. I didn't know he directed True Lies. Did you know that?
I did.
I did not.
Absolutely,
know that.
I did. It's kind of a big fucking deal.
Yeah, I like that movie. I've seen it a lot, but I did not realize he directed it.
Oh, well, that's a welcome surprise, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a pretty solid action movie.
Yeah. And it's actually good Tom Arnold. It's like the one Tom Arnold movie.
Great Tom Arnold.
It's the one Tom Arnold movie I love. And great Bill Paxton, as usual.
Oh, man. When he gets his face smashed in the car, that was great.
I mean, he was saying some weird shit to him, but yeah.
Arnold's acting, like when he just...
Terrific.
Yeah. It's just that face he shoots him. Like,
exhaling through the gap in his teeth. Just
prick.
But yeah, James Cameron directed this. I'm guessing, how long was production for this? Do you know?
I do not. I would imagine fairly extensive, though. This movie has the look and the feel of something that was very extensively storyboarded and planned.
Yes.
This is a highly coordinated production. Needs to be said that editing is like top shelf stuff. Yeah, top
shelf.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking also in terms of, like, if you compare it to the first one, like, the set design is, I'd say, pretty similar, like, pretty on par. Like, they're both really good. But I think there's more makeup effects in this. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I understand, the first Alien movie was modestly budgeted. It wasn't like a gigantic blockbuster film. This one, however, has the look and the feel of a traditional blockbuster film, especially in 1986. We were making big, loud action movies in the 80s.
Fuck yeah.
And yeah, that's part of why this film is so amazing to me. Is we mentioned in the previous episode the overall aesthetic of that first film, which is different from this one. I mean, they're 7 years apart. There's a lot of artistic developments that happen in the culture and otherwise. But one of the main through lines between the two of them is that they're both like space-based futuristic settings that have a grounded, realistic feel to them. Mm-hmm. Everything feels lived in. Was it Hadley's Hope is the name of the colony we're at? The set designs here, like the corridors and the colony housing, it's a gritty, like just like wrought iron nightmare, basically.
Well, we also get the exteriors. Like, I think that's one of my favorite things, and how I help differentiate, like, thinking back between the two movies, is the exteriors of this colony.
We get to go outside.
I fucking love it.
Yeah,
that's one of my
we
favorite.
actually get to go outside.
And same with like Terminator 2, like that opening scenes, like we get some outside stuff. Like, we don't need to talk about Terminator 2 here, but like that, I think that's something I just noticed about James Cameron that I like. I'm like, man, he does know how to do an outside, like an exterior.
He has some gifts as a director for sure. He knows how to do on the fly characterization really well. He knows how to put together a fucking action scene.
Yeah.
He's very good with set pieces where it's like, this is the part where we do this. We're not going to be distracted with a whole bunch of other shit going on. This is what we're doing right now, and we're not gonna cut away from it. And I don't know, he just knows how to make good gripping stories. Yeah. It's kind of amazing, actually, because there's so many aspects of his films that don't. It's hard to put your finger on exactly why it's remarkable. It just is.
It just is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard to point out, because like Terminator 2, for instance, like is a favorite film for so many people. But when you look at it, it's like, what is it about it that makes it so special? It's like, it's really hard to tell.
That opening scene is awesome. Yeah, there's a lot. We could, that's a whole other podcast episode. But yeah, I know what you mean. And I guess same with this. I'm like, I get why people like it better than the first one, the first Alien. But sometimes I'm like, but why exactly? Like, what is it about the movie that makes it so awesome? And for me, I think it's the pacing. I think that's what does it for me. And I think that's what his gift is like a lot of action, little action. He's just great at pacing. The editing, I think.
It has now you mention it, both the Terminator 1 and 2 and Aliens, they all have a really even flow to them. Mm-hmm. Like, the downtime is never all the way down. Like, it has a...
There's still tension.
Yeah, there's an inertia, like an inertial quality to it that really lends itself well to the progression of the story. For me, a lot of it had to do with the characters and just the drama that comes from seeing the characters get like yanked around in really awful ways, because the opening portion of the movie is devoid of action for the longest time, and it isn't until things start to ramp up that like the tone radically shifts, where we get to see some people that are portrayed as like highly capable and very adept at what they do, all of a sudden humbled to the extreme, and then we get to spend a great deal of time in the aftermath of that, and so it allows us to see two very different angles of the same characters in the same movie.
Is this the patient zero of a team being picked off while their cameras are on, the first-person cameras?
I believe so.
Okay, because it's definitely, I've seen it in plenty.
It's been imitated countless times.
And in Predator 2, I remember they were getting picked off with their cameras.
The same studio. And I was just rewatching Godzilla King of the Monsters last night.
Oh yeah.
They do the helmet cam in that too.
But I've noticed that it's progressed to be way quicker. It's just like, oh, one person's gone. And they're just all gone.
No, crazy. I mean, we'll get to it, but that sequence in this movie is maybe the reason why I love this movie.
I could see that.
Because it needs to be said, this was either the first or the second R-rated movie I ever saw. It was either Aliens or Under Siege 2.
Wow.
I can't recall which came first.
I think my brother and I had, was Terminator 2 rated R? It's got all the fucks. I'm sorry, yeah. There's violence, I can see it being PG-13. The fucks, it's rated R. I mean, Linda Hamilton alone has got the R rating in that movie. Just her swagger in that should be an R rating, because she's got some, she's vicious in that movie.
I was about to say the face lick in that deserves the R rating.
Yeah. I had seen Terminator 2 before I'd seen this. My brother and I had seen Terminator 2 quite a few times.
Yeah, Terminator 2 is actually another one that was right around the same time. I can't recall which came first, but I know my brother was responsible for Aliens.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like I think he turned it on and he walked away. If I remember right, he turned it on. He was like, "Just watch this." It's
a good move.
I think he was like watching me because like our parents were away. And he was just like, "You want to watch a movie? Okay."
All right.
Well, I wanted to, but
I'm gonna go play PlayStation 1.
yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he went to the basement and played video games. Oh. But if I remember right, it was either that or Terminator 2. But I remember I covered my eyes for the chest bursting.
Wow.
The rest of the movie's fine, but that was pretty intense.
So I've seen this movie quite a few times. I recently-ish watched the Alien, so it was still kind of fresh. This one I'll some more stuff will like come back to me as we're talking, but it's not as fresh in my mind as Alien is.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, both movies open pretty similarly.
Yeah.
You know, space title. This one a little bit more intensely because if I remember right,
there's the psych out dream.
There's the big there's the big light bloom on the eye in the Aliens logo, and it has was it James Horner did the score for this film, and he knocked it the fuck out the park. Holy shit, this score is amazing. Every time the Colonial Marines are doing their thing, you're in it. like you really buy into it. The aliens kind of have their own theme. It's really brassy. It's like a brassy growl. It's like every time the aliens are moving, they have their own little musical theme that comes along with it. It's pretty great. But yeah, first thing that happens, if I remember right, is basically Ripley's been drifting in space. She gets recovered by some unknown party. They cut open the door to her shuttlecraft that she escaped from at the end of the first film. And they save her and her cat, Jonesy. And then, yeah, like you said, they recover her. And depending on which version of the movie you're watching, some stuff happens here. There's a director's cut for this.
I've seen the director's cut. I know I own one version of the director's cut.
You own both.
I think I own both.
You own the same box I have.
Special edition? No, I'm saying I own that and then also streaming. I think I own the director's cut of that as well.
Okay. Well, the director's cut adds a few things here and there. Nothing terribly significant. The main thing that it adds here is that she's recovered. I believe they have her on like a space station.
Yeah, they have her on a space station, and she's actually in trouble because she exploded a multi-billion-dollar spaceship or something like that.
Yeah, she was hauling ore.
Yeah, and
for a company
like,
that she's still an employee of, despite having been frozen for 57 years.
And she has no evidence of why she did that. All they have is like, well, you're alive, everybody else is dead, and you blew up a ton of money. So where do we go?
Yeah, so they have her in this colony, and it has the feel of like an interrogation. Like you get the sense that they're calling her into meetings with corporate suits to go over the details of what transpired on the Nostromo and on LV-426, just over and over, just endlessly.
Yeah. And
every time she's just yelling at them, "We found an alien. It killed everyone, and I did what I had to survive."
Paul Rush is the only character. His character's the only. What's his?
Burke. Fucking Burke.
He's one of the slimiest characters in a movie ever.
He stole Marty McFly's vest, by the way.
Good. He's so good in this movie.
Oh, yeah. It's really sad.
But he's the only one that's really...
I'm the bad Jesus Christ.
He's the only one who somewhat believes it, and I don't remember why.
I can't recall in the beginning stages of the film why he's on her side. He probably just wants to get in her pants, to be honest.
Yeah, for being honest.
But yeah, he has a heel turn later in the movie.
There's my theory that I mentioned on our last episode.
What's that?
That I don't know if maybe James Cameron called Ridley Scott a couple of times and asked him about a few things, like, what were you thinking for this? Because I'm directing the movie now. But I mentioned that if we go through, not chronologically from release date, but from like the story, it is actually the Weyland Corporation that are responsible for the xenomorph because their android basically engineered it.
Yeah, what Kyle's talking about is like, I mean, this is
tinfoil hat.
Yeah, this is a little bit tinfoil hat here, but bear with us. Basically, the conclusion of Alien Covenant, the events of Alien Covenant, kind of spell out to us that maybe not the xenomorph, but something extremely closely related to it is the product of some black goo as manufactured by the engineers who we're introduced to technically in the first Alien film.
Yes.
It's him tampering with the black goo and then altering it in some fashion to create the alien egg.
Yes.
And then via Billy Crudup's chest cavity, we get our first alien. So if you really go all the way back, David, the android who meddled with the black goo,
Yeah.
was originally manufactured by Mr. Wayland.
Yes.
Which would technically make him a product of the company from Alien and Aliens,
Yes.
Wayland Yutani.
And this is why this would be company property as put by Paul Reiser in this movie. By Burke. And I'm sure there is something in the movie I'm misremembering of why he's like kind of gung-ho about it, but I think that would add to that thread of he's a part of the corporation and he's one of the like really high ups that's kind of working down right now, trying to keep this tight, basically, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
It could work, but I don't know.
It could work.
It could work. It seems very grand in the entire scheme.
I mean, the way Covenant ended, I'm sure Fox is looking for, well, Disney now, is looking for a way to continue the franchise in some capacity. I would not be surprised if they have their writer's room full of chimpanzees pounding out something along those lines.
I think you and I could do it if we continue with this thread. I think we might have found something.
I mean, shit. I've been saying it for years. All they need to do is make the plot of the Aliens vs. Predator arcade game. No, all you do is you pick up right where you left off in Covenant and have David's ship crash into a planet with people.
Ooh, yeah.
And then, recovery crew goes out there and it's just like, eggs!
Yeah.
And then you do, some of those Dark Horse comics that I know you flipped through at least have some pretty fucking great ideas.
Yeah.
They have a plot line in those comics where we as humans have tamed the aliens. Like, they're animals.
Yeah.
We can control them if we apply ourselves.
I've read some of those.
And they have a through line through some of the comics where the royal jelly, like the goo that comes off of the queens, is used as like a mega steroid.
I can see that.
And so like for like sports and stuff like that, people are actually harvesting alien royal jelly and stuff.
That is insane.
And then they have like a plot line where there's two rival factions of aliens fighting each other. There's red ants and black ants.
I think the harvesting would be an interesting idea to go with.
Oh, my favorite comic was one called Labyrinth, and
I think I might have read it.
It's fucking great.
My brother sent me the Alien vs. Predator omnibus, the first 2 volumes.
Yeah, Labyrinth introduces a new like birthing scheme for the aliens, where instead of the traditional egg sac, they have just like puddles of just like essentially like sperm.
Oh, interesting.
And they dunk people's heads into it, basically.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And it gives birth to multiple aliens at once, by the way.
Gross.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But, anyway.
Yeah.
We should probably talk about aliens. But yeah, we get that corporate boardroom scene. And this is where I mentioned on the previous episode, one of the suits, this lady with an unfortunate haircut, she mentions how what Ripley's saying seems nonsensical. She's like, in over like 15 recorded worlds, we've never encountered an alien species before.
Yeah.
And it's never officially stated that we've actually encountered alien life at this point. But again, based on the reactions in the room, I have to assume that we probably have, given that nobody's terribly impressed by it.
Now I know why. Now I just came back why Paul Reiser's on her side.
Why is that?
That's because they end up getting either a distress call or they've got no communication, which brings us into the actual movie as they're going to this colony. And I think Paul Reiser, she's very adamant about them not going Ripley. She's like, do not go out there. If that's the problem, blow it the fuck up.
Yeah.
And which makes him very interested. And he's like, well, maybe there is something here because somebody shouldn't be acting like this about something.
Yeah. The big thing that happens here is she has been asleep for like, I think 57 years is the number.
It's been a minute.
It's been over 50 years,
yeah.
Which is apparently unprecedented. That's not a stretch of time that anybody's ever done before. So a lot of time has passed, and in the director's cut of the film, we get her, I think, learning that her daughter has died.
Did she have a daughter?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah. It was completely written out of the theatrical version of the film, I think.
Oh, okay.
Which would, lend some layers to the new business.
Yeah.
So I can understand.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if I remember right, she learns that her daughter is dead or has just aged dramatically because it's been that amount of time, and meanwhile she's as she was when she left home.
Yeah.
So that's something that's only in the director's cut. But yeah, we get that fake out sequence. Basically, Ripley imagines a chest burster coming out of her.
Yeah.
It's prefaced by Jonesy like hissing at her, and then her experiencing some chest pains. As a kid, that terrified me because again, the score kicks in here, and it's hard to vocalize it, but if you hear it, you'll know what I mean. Really scary sequence. But yeah, the board sequence, if I remember right, part of the reason why nobody believes her is that she stops one of the guys at the door, like when everybody's filing out, and she's like you need to understand, like it's really dangerous. She's like, she says like go down there and tell me how it is, like you check it out. And he's like, I don't need to. There's like thousands of people that live there already.
Yeah.
So we've already colonized the planet that she was at, and that makes her a little antsy. But yeah, the catalyst for the plot, like you said, is we get a funny video phone call. Yeah. Burke pops up on. No, she calls Burke, and he looks like he has a hooker in the other room.
He's working. He's doing something.
Yeah, he's doing something he shouldn't be at an unreasonable hour. But basically, she volunteers herself to go down to the planet to investigate because they've lost contact with the colonists.
She's actually, I think they want her to go on the mission. She's like, no, fuck that. I'm not gonna go do that. And then finally, she's just like, I'm the only one that knows anything about this. I need to go because Paul Reiser wants her to go, and she's really adamant about not going. And that was the phone call. She's like, I'm going, motherfucker.
Yeah, I like how she yanks out the card. Like he's like about to say like, yeah. She's like, nope, on my terms. Like everything on my terms.
Yeah.
There's also something else in the director's cut. I'm not sure if you remember. It might actually. I think it actually directly precedes them learning that the colony's out of contact. It's the sequence with Newt and her family.
Yeah. I remember there being, that's like the opening scene, I think, before. Or it's like very, I don't remember where it's spliced at, but I do remember her with her family. That I've seen that.
Yeah, I think it plays right before we learn that. Like right before the phone call, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I'm fine with it being cut.
The less Newt, the better, if you ask me.
Honestly, yes. It does add an element to it. Like you kind of feel bad for it. It leaves something to the imagination. Like, no, this girl has been living her by herself, and everybody's been killed. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, I think it's more for her character to have something like somebody to try to save. Because if she goes into the situation without Newt, they're on fucking Marines.
Well, see, this is where the 7 years comes into play. And it just occurred to me that like, if you're seeing this movie it's called Aliens. It's a sequel, but it's a sequel to something that came out like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So your memory of it's probably going to be cloudy, especially since rentals and stuff were.
Oh yeah.
I think only just then getting into.
It wasn't very popular, no.
Yeah, it was probably just becoming a thing.
Nobody rewatched the first one.
Exactly. So your memories of it are going to be hazy.
That makes sense.
Because if you saw it, it was in a theater, and it was a long time ago. So the reason I bring that up is because if we have this early introduction that shows us warning signs of what's to come, in the first 15 minutes of the movie, it robs the aliens of their power. It's like you were saying in the previous episode about them. Mm-hmm. How part of the charm of that is that it builds and builds and builds. It's a mystery.
Yeah.
We don't know what the monster is or even if there's a monster. I mean, the marketing tells us there's a monster, but the movie has yet to show us that until the grand reveal. And in the case of Aliens, if we get like all these warning signs, it's like, oh, that monster from 7 years ago that you kind of remember, it's coming back. Whereas if you cut that out and you just have the aliens show up when the Marines encounter them, it's like you're remembering it with the movie. So like all the warning signs are there, but it's like in little breadcrumbs here and there, where it's like there's the scene where they're exploring like one of the corridors, and the helmet cams are panning over things, and Ripley's like, "Go back," and then Burke sees it, and he's like, "Acid for blood," and
like,
it's like
checks out.
And as an audience, as a person in the theater, you're like,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
It's like we're coming back to that. Whereas if you tease that too early, I think it robs it of some of its impact, to be honest.
I didn't think about how streaming and having rentals can actually impact how you film a sequel. I didn't think that even be a thing. Like how quickly you hint at something. Or
how do you think the Marvel universe sustains
That's
itself?
that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking now. Is I'm like, these people don't need to be reminded little by little. Like, we should actually put that way later in the movie. That it doesn't even need to be up front. I didn't even think about that as thinking about that in filming.
Thanks to Wikipedia and stuff like that, it's now possible to tell these stories that reference things from obscure things from years past. Whereas before, you always need to make sure that the idiots in the back row will get it.
It almost seems insulting as a viewer when you have something like that. Like,
it does.
A callback.
It's just a sign of the times.
Interesting.
But yeah, like nowadays, it does kind of feel like you're being pandered to. Where it's like, I know.
I fucking remember. Like, well, bitch, not everybody remembered.
Well, not everybody cares as much as you do.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense.
But yeah, I feel like the scene where it's just her family like driving around in like a rover, and then they come across the derelict ship.
They died, by the way.
Yeah, they're dead.
Oh, yeah.
Can I go now?
Do you like her better or worse than Freddy? What's his face in The Mummy Returns?
Oh,
at least she doesn't talk as much.
I think I like her a little better.
Yeah, I do too.
Like a little better.
Not by much.
But that scream, just that atonal, just
yeah.
And then they're dead. They're all dead. Can I go now?
She does have an effective moment at the end, near the end of the movie, that I remember seeing as a kid, and I was like, "Oh, fuck!" Like it was a heavy moment, but it's neither here nor there right now. But yeah, we can keep moving.
Yeah, well, we don't have to go through the movie
Oh,
literally.
no.
I mean, shit. I'm just
I'm
just saying. There's a scene in the director's cut where one thing that is actually kind of nice about the director's cut is we do get to see Hadley's Hope right before everything goes to shit.
Oh,
so we get to see the colony, like, and it looks like a western town or something. Like, if I remember right, there's like a sign like blowing in the wind and everything. It's a little cute.
It's probably supposed to feel like that. Like,
it might be extraneous though, because like it's. To be fair, the shots are like examples of miniatures. They're maybe not the best special effects in the movie.
Yeah.
But it adds a few layers here and there. This is one of those movies that it's like Godzilla 1985, where there is no perfect version of the movie. It's somewhere in between.
Gotcha.
Because there's an American cut of Godzilla 1985 and a Japanese cut Godzilla 1984, and there are actually a couple edits in the American one that I kind of prefer, but. There's not one single version that does it as best as it could be. It's somewhere in the middle.
I like the ghost town approach. I like having like somebody telling me what the area is, and then going there and nobody's there except for the one survivor.
The way that the pacing again, the way they stretch it out, where it's empty. Yeah. Aside from Newt, it's empty.
Yeah.
And every door that opens, and there are a lot of them, and I love every moment when we stack up on the doors and it's like,
yeah,
nothing.
I'm probably gonna watch that after we get done here.
Just the suspense, the building of it, and then when we inevitably do get to the action, and it's a literal journey into fucking hell. Yeah. It's great. Well, it's amazing.
I'm just saying, I think that I don't need the Newt. I don't need to see the town or the colony.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I don't think I needed to see Newt until we find her in the corridors.
It's more effective.
I think so.
Yeah. I think
that's me personally, but yeah. But yeah, obviously we get to the planet eventually, but before that we have to meet the Marines.
I was gonna say we have to meet the Marines.
Oh yeah, we have to go on the Sulaco, the M16 shaped spacecraft.
I think if you take a look at the people that have worked with James Cameron, I think the woman who plays Vasquez,
Jeanette Goldstein,
she's been in more James Cameron films than any of his other actors.
Probably, yeah.
Because she's definitely in Titanic. She's in T2. She's in this. She's in another one. I think she's not in The Abyss, which is shocking.
She would have fit right in
perfectly. She would have. I mean, not for diversity's sake. There is a character in there she could have absolutely done. The lady with the cowboy hat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she could have totally done her.
I mean, that's part of, I think, why he liked her is that he could throw her into whatever and she would just work.
Like she's.
If I remember right, his wife borrowed her for a movie.
Really?
Near Dark. Catherine Bigelow. He and her were an item.
Oh,
now she's an Oscar winner. And he's like, good for you, ex-wife.
Take two.
But Bill Paxton,
yeah,
Lance Henriksen, Jeanette Goldstein,
that blonde guy who's in stuff.
All three of those people were in Near Dark.
Oh, okay,
as vampires.
Okay, I was gonna say. I thought you were just mentioning like some of the cast. I'm like that blonde guy who's in stuff.
That blonde guy who's in.
He's in Rush Hour. He's one of the FBI detectives from Rush Hour. But you've seen him in. He's in Lethal Weapon 2. He's one of the South Africans that gets killed in the beginning.
South Africans.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know who that blonde dude is. He's Boggs in Shawshank Redemption.
Oh,
Honey, hush.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then the sergeant, the guy who's actually running it, I believe he's an actual Marine.
He was, I think, the trainer for the people on the set.
He's fucking great.
Apone, Sergeant Apone. I don't know the actor's name, unfortunately.
I don't think he's an actor. So I think I don't know what else he's actually.
I don't
been
know
in.
if he has any other acting credits, but yeah, I know pretty much all the characters' names. Like
Another Beautiful Day in the Cool. I love that. It's so genuine. I love it.
So like being on a farm.
Oh,
Hudson, come here.
He's really effective as the team.
Apone is amazing.
I gotta look him up now.
More importantly, though, Apone's utility in the story is also amazing.
He passed away last year.
Oh fuck! Really? This episode is being issued in tribute to Sergeant Apone.
He doesn't have he's got a few movies, but I'm just gonna go ahead and give you his best ones real quick.
Yep.
Fifth Element, Superman 3, Tomorrow Never Dies, and Aliens, of course.
Okay. What's his name?
His name is Al Matthews.
Al Matthews.
Al Matthews.
In tribute to Al Matthews. But yeah, Sergeant Apone. We got Corporal Hicks, played by Michael Biehn. He's a mainstay of the James Cameron 80s stable.
Yes.
Also Abyss. Then we got Bill Paxton as Hudson.
Great in Abyss.
Jeanette Goldstein as Vasquez.
Vasquez, you're just too bad.
That one guy playing Drake.
The blonde guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was also
guy.
in The Departed.
Correct. Yes.
He plays Drake. And then Frost, I don't know the actor's name, but he's kind of cool. There's also a fellow named Crow. And then there's synthetic Lance Henriksen. Named Bishop.
He comes up in some other movies too.
Oh yeah, no, him and James Cameron are good buddies. Yeah. And also there's another connection here. Stan Winston.
Oh yes.
So Stan Winston, if you're not familiar, is I guess you'd call him a makeup effects technician.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, he does a lot of makeup effects and animatronics in particular. He's given cinema some of its greatest monsters, like the Predator, the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, and the Terminator. Mm-hmm. And he also worked on Aliens. He did not work on the first Alien. He worked on Aliens, and he was, I think, largely responsible for the crafting of the Alien Queen in particular.
Okay.
So that design came from his studio. But James Cameron would work with him obviously on the Terminator, but Stan Winston's first movie he directed was Pumpkinhead, which starred Lance Henriksen.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so the connections, revolutions.
Yeah, so he oh my goodness, I forget. You can't look at his IMDb. It's just so much for makeup department.
Oh yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I was just trying to get to.
He also did Leviathan, by the way.
Oh yeah, he did. That was gonna say he was one of the heavy hitters on there. I just wanted to see what his actual title was for Aliens.
I'd be curious what his actual job title is, because I feel like he's more of just a straight up artist, rather than an engineer or something. But his studio is legendary. I mean, he sadly passed away a while ago, but his studio lives on, kind of like Jim Henson, though.
About 10 years ago. Yeah, Predator 2, Leviathan, The Monster Squad, Predator, Amazing Aliens. He is the alien effects artist. So specifically,
that's as general as possible,
but it's under special effects.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't do environmental art. He does creatures.
Yeah.
But yeah, this cast is amazing. The way we're introduced to them is, in particular, pretty fantastic. Where, just like in the first film, we get to see everyone waking up from cryosleep, because we just went on a long space journey to LV-426. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting prepped for the mission.
Yeah, waking up, starting with some pull-ups. First waking up.
Yeah.
Everybody's in their skivvies.
Yeah, everybody's in their skivvies. They hop right out the tubes, and some folks are very slow to get up. Like Hicks looks like he's got a bad head up the ass, but like Drake and Vasquez are knocking off like
pull-ups, dude. They're just fucking straight up.
Yeah, it's too bad, Vasquez.
It's too bad.
Slap. Well, they have an interesting relationship.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting relationship. Yeah. They're bros. They're just bros, I think.
I don't know.
There might be more to that.
I think they're finding some time in between missions.
Maybe sexuality doesn't really come up in this. I mean, there's a little bit between Hicks. Is it Hicks?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hicks and
Dwayne Hicks.
Dwayne Hicks.
Dwayne.
What is Bill Paxton's character?
Hudson.
I get Hudson and I get those two mixed up.
Well, they're also paired up a lot.
Yeah, they're usually in the frame together.
And they're arguably the two most charismatic people in the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see how that would happen.
But yeah, we get them waking up, kind of eating breakfast, and then like I think he's like, we're gonna get to work right away. Like
Apone. Yeah, I think Apone has a stogie and his hat while he's in his undies.
Yeah.
like
first things first. Stogie
hasn't even brushed his teeth yet. He's already smoking.
So do we get our brief? We get our briefing first before we get to work. Like we get kind of a rundown of what's going on because they haven't really been informed yet.
Well, you had some interesting stuff about Bishop that you wanted to say.
Oh yeah.
So we should probably talk about the dining hall.
Yeah, the dining hall sequence. So Sigourney Weaver, if you remember from our discussion from the last episode, they had we didn't really mention it. I noticed we didn't really mention it too explicitly. Was that the problem with the first movie and why everything goes wrong is because of a malfunctioning android, more or less.
Yeah, actually, when she's talking in that boardroom, she does like explicitly point the finger at the android.
It's the android's fault. So PTSD. She's got some beef with she's got some beef with the android.
Yeah.
You ever heard your grandpa go off on whoever he fought with in whatever war he was in? That's what she's got towards these guys.
And then some.
Yeah. So we learned that Lance Henriksen is actually an android, and something I mentioned I think off air was the actual android acting, and if I'm just like looking too into it, it might be. But if I'm not, it's pretty fucking incredible what they did. So Ian Holm in the first one has a way about himself. You definitely don't know, from what I can gather, you do not know that he's an android. And it's one of the big reveals in the movie is that he's an android. So we know going into the second one, we're most likely going to be expecting one more or less. But the demeanor has changed between the two. And Lance Henriksen is a little more coy and he's a little more off. As you put, like, he's not as human as Ian Holm would be.
Yeah.
And this is something that's brought up in Prometheus. Prometheus, actually, they know that David, Michael Fassbender's character, is an android, and they don't like him for the most part. Some people explicitly say, I don't like you, more or less. And we see the character changes a little bit in Alien Covenant, where they have a newer android that meets David, the old one, who they did.
Walter.
And just the performances between the two Fassbenders in that movie, they have a different demeanor, a different way of carrying themselves. And it's clear in that movie, and I noticed when we were talking about the movie, I'm like, I think there's a clear difference between the way these two actors are performing as the androids.
Yeah, Ian Holm's portrayal, he definitely seems distant from the rest of the crew.
Even like the way I'm positioning myself against the wall. Like at one point he's kind of like leaned up and just kind of like posted and looking up and he's not really addressing the room. He's like looking down and addressing them.
Yeah, he like physically is actually like distant from most of the crew members.
Yeah,
and that was probably on purpose. That was probably an acting decision that the director saw what he was doing, and Ridley Scott, knows his way around making a film. He was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, a couple times. And yeah, I think the major difference is that Ian Holm was intended to be like a pivotal character in the story, because in terms of like character beats in the first Alien, there's not much that's terribly dramatic. His though is like, whoa, this is a big moment where it's like, oh, that guy who we thought was just an asshole is actually an asshole robot. Whereas Bishop,
the worst kind.
Bishop only gets like maybe a minute of screen time before we know he's an android, before we know he's a synth. And I think it's an example of them trying to address it up front, where it's like, this character isn't meant to be a hidden android. He's not meant to be a pivotal character, although we have strong reinforcement from Ripley's reaction to him that maybe he is going to be that.
Yeah.
Like, he's a red herring.
Yeah.
Because every chance she gets, she says, "Don't you come near me, Bishop."
She stops talking when he like comes near her.
Yeah, like she's cagey with him from until the end of the movie, basically.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, but that's really clever screenwriting because, again, 7 years between the first and the second film, we find a way to exposit this to the audience that this is why she doesn't like him, and this is why she does not trust him, and then by the end, it's like, oh, what was I worried about?
We also, like, how we're introduced to him being an android is how we meet some of our how we kind of develop our characters a little bit. So we learn that Bill Paxton's kind of the pain in the ass. Something that he is good at playing. Predator 2, True Lies, Weird Science. He is a pain in the ass.
To quote Predator 2, "It's my specialty."
It's my specialty. God, he's great. He was great, sorry. But how we're introduced is like, "Bishop, do the thing, Bishop," and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." And you've seen it before in movies where you take a knife and you stab it in between your fingers. If you've seen the night of, but they're getting ready to do it, and then they take Bill Paxton's hand and like hold it down underneath Bishop's so that he's doing it in like real time in front of him, and it's freaking him out. But he's clearly the one that is. He's the pain in the ass.
It's kind of an amazing scene. I don't know how many kids imitated this after they saw it. I know some of the kids in my school certainly did. I know my brother probably tried it. I probably tried it.
Next time you're drinking, try it out. It's a good time to do it.
But I mean, the major thing, if you're not aware, is that Bishop plays this knife game where you stab in between your fingers, but he does it insanely fast.
Yeah, crazy fast.
And what happens here is, again, great fucking writing, economical writing. Because the reason why this is here is not just because it's visually interesting and we get to see Bill Paxton go, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Which is always entertaining.
Yeah, that's always good.
The reason why we do that is because Bishop nicks himself and he bleeds white. And Ripley sees that.
Correct.
And she flips the fuck out.
Yeah.
She's like, "Burke,
what the fuck?"
It's like, this is the first of one of many what the fucks. Yeah. God damn it, Burke, I think is maybe this probably said God knows how many times in this movie.
If I hadn't been asleep for fucking 67 years and I didn't have muscle atrophy.
Oh my God.
Whoop your
real.
ass.
I mean, she's still got inches on him. So.
Yeah, she's still got inches on him, but I'm just saying, like, she needs to eat some more protein, carb up.
Yeah.
She's been sleeping for a while.
But yeah, she is none too happy to learn that he is a synthetic. And again, 7 years, we need to be reintroduced all these concepts. Yeah. And this does it very smoothly, very quickly. And then we have a little bit of a back and forth. And I really love this, where Bishop gives her no reason to be concerned. And she still is, because she's a human.
But would Ian Holmes' android be any less like, "Oh, you have nothing to worry about"?
Exactly. Well, I mean, it would be Ian Holmes. It would be like, "Stay away from me, Jesus fuck."
No, go ahead, put your face over it.
But basically, Lance Henriksen, like, his performance, he's very calming. He's very subservient, and everything he's telling her is that, "Oh, that thing that happened to you, I'm so sorry to hear that. We've had a lot of advancements in technology. I'm programmed differently from him. I forget exactly how he phrases it, but it's like, I cannot harm a person nor allow a person to be harmed."
Yeah.
So he can't be a Seinfeld. he can't allow the fat guy to get accosted in the street.
Funny. Just when you think a Seinfeld reference isn't going to show up,
it finds a way. Life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
But yeah, I really love that. And also, there's a small detail here. I think they made him up to look kind of like, to not perspire.
Interesting.
Like they really powdered up his face a lot, and also his hair. Well, in particular, his hair is intentionally made up to look like a doll.
Little things I think James Cameron pays attention to as a director with his actors is something that robots. So I think that might be his thing. Cyborgs, because think about that. This blew me away. I never pieced this together. I think it was just a couple years ago I read about it. I'm like, holy fuck! Terminator 2. Can you tell me one time in Robert Patrick's sprinting Can you tell me one time you've seen him breathe? Because watching it as a kid, you just see a guy who's just running really hard. He's legit. Like, he had to run so much that he's like sprinting and not breathing. So because he's a robot, they don't do that.
I can't recall an instance.
And that's just a little something like. I believe that the director's like, listen, you have to know how to do it.
Well,
like this.
And even when he has scuffles with Arnold, like when they're throwing each other around in the mall, they're just locked eyes. They don't even look like they're exerting themselves. It's just like a blank expression.
Do you think that's why he kept the sunglasses on? Because Arnold wears the sunglasses quite a bit, and especially during those scenes, because you can see the. I remember the shot you're talking about exactly. He keeps him from. Yeah. Keeps him from moving the gun.
He grabs the shotgun and they wrestle a little bit and then they slam each other into walls.
I'm gonna watch a James Cameron movie after we get done here. It might be Terminator 2. It might be Aliens. I don't know.
There's not a bad choice.
God damn it. I'm just the sound. I can always hear the soundtrack in that the whole sequence. As soon as the
bell, boom,
boom, boom, boom, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah, I really love the way the dining hall scene ends. So Ripley has her tiff. And I just love the line from, I think it's Frost.
What's twisting this bitch's tit?
And I was like,
that's a different movie.
Yeah, I'd say so. No, he just like kind of says offhand, like to no one in particular, it's like, guess she don't like the cornbread neither. Because like when Bishop sits down at the table with her, he's like handing out food trays, and I think Burke takes seconds. That fuck.
Yeah, of course he does.
But yeah, Frost is just like, guess she doesn't like the cornbread either.
Yeah, Burke.
And then we get the briefing scene before the drop.
Yeah.
And then we get to see more breadcrumbs in the script. Really good breadcrumbs where she wants to make herself useful. Ellen Ripley wants to make herself useful in the Sulaco.
And that calls back to what you were saying about the first one. It was a blue collar space movie, and we don't spend any time with them in the blue collar portion of the movie or of the story. That I completely forgot.
No, the job's done. They're on their way home.
Yeah, they're on their way home. I'm like, oh yeah, she knows how to do this shit. That she was working on a rig, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a construction worker.
And hats off. I mean, to like writing strong. Like maybe it was more innocent back then. Like writing a strong female lead, because James Cameron is also somebody that can do that as well.
Do you know anything about Catherine Bigelow?
No.
Tough lady.
Tough lady. I know the name. That
tough lady. I mean, Bigelow is a tough name, but it was like legit tough lady. They were an item.
Gotcha.
Linda Hamilton and him.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did date Linda Hamilton.
He has a thing. He likes his ladies tough.
I feel like Linda Hamilton and Jada Pinkett Smith are like the same kind of like.
Oh, that's a buddy cop movie that needed to happen.
That's a lot of fire in a small frame. She'll whack you in the mouth and you're like, mother, that hurt. You weigh 90 pounds. How'd you get your hips behind that?
Funky butt loving,
right? But yeah, like still like Ripley maintains her strong character. She's very assertive in the movie. Vasquez is a boss in this.
I mean, she got a bigger dick than everyone else.
She leads the way. She's got the biggest gun.
She literally has.
Has the biggest gun. Well, James Cameron writing Linda Hamilton and how much her character changes from T1 to T2. Like T1, she's like damsel in distress. T2, ain't no damsel here. There's no damsel in T2. No,
and even Titanic to a lesser extent. Rose's.
She grows. Yeah,
the last chunk of that movie when she's getting shot at by David Warner and swinging fire axes. Yeah, that's her Ripley moment. And she even goes back, like Ripley has done twice at that point in film history.
I read
you have to go back into hell to prove you're Ripley.
For some reason, we rewatched Titanic, and I read that Kate Winslet, when she spits at Billy Zane when they're like getting off the ship, basically, that she had to do it so many times that she was out of spit because she was legit spitting, that they had to use like water and silicone. And I remember reading that and then seeing that scene. I'm like, oh my god, I think that's mostly just water and silicone or something. Like, lubricant. I think maybe just.
Oh, how dare you tarnish Billy Zane's wonderful hairpiece.
Wonderful hairpiece. All right, sorry. Anyway, less James Cameron, more about aliens.
We'll
get off his dick for a minute.
It's hard, man.
It's hard.
It's real hard.
Yeah, it's difficult. He's crushed it. Sorry.
So many times, yeah. So important to my childhood. I really love some of the details here in the loading bay. Like, this is what I was alluding to is the power loader.
That's
which
stop
is
motion.
no,
Wait, the
no, sir,
that's not
no, sir.
interesting.
No, sir.
It felt like it.
That is not stop motion. That is a live prop.
Interesting.
Yeah. They have a miniature.
That's
they
what
have
I'm
a
thinking.
puppet, but it's not stop motion.
Interesting. I did not know that.
But yeah, they have a full size prop that obviously a person can get into, and it's mobile.
Yeah.
You can see like the actuators and stuff on the back of it, and it's one of the most iconic images in 80s sci-fi is the power loader, the bright yellow construction vehicle that doubles as a weapon.
I would argue it's probably one of the big. I think it might be the biggest.
It's the backlit thing when she comes out at the end.
If you see anybody in that, like immediately, you know, without even questioning, like I know exactly what that's from.
No, and it needs to be said. I was gushing earlier in this episode about James Horner and his score, the sound design. Holy shit!
The doors opening.
The footsteps, the and the of the whirly light on its back, and then the pulse rifle sound effect that sound effect. If that isn't in an Aliens franchise, like an Aliens piece of media, like any video game or whatever, if they do not have the pulse rifle sound, fan outrage.
Gotcha.
Because it's so iconic.
Makes sense.
And there are so many sound cues and just like elements, like even the doors opening, that like it's all so distinct and so just perfectly calibrated. That's like these are like sense memories that are like burned into my memories. It's unbelievable.
I think another reason why I tend to like this one a little bit more is that there's a bit more fun happening at the top. The character's a little bit more of grab-assing in this movie. There's not a lot of grab-assing.
Well, it's because we're setting up for something.
We have time. We have time,
and more importantly, it's to the director and the audience's benefit to have us all like these people before bad things start to happen. So even if we don't know them as individual people, like we definitely get to know them by the second half of the movie. Even if we don't know them, like we know like their silhouette.
Yeah.
It's like we know Hudson's gonna flip out. We know Vasquez is gonna shoot first. Not a good idea.
So I guess we're gonna gear up to get to the. So we're on the mothership.
Yeah, the Sulaco.
There's two 21 gun salutes sitting in the cockpit of this thing. They take them down because it's a lady with sunglasses and then some other dead guy.
Spunkmeyer. His name is Spunkmeyer.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, you see the two of them, like, oh, you're dead.
Yeah, Pharaoh and Spunkmeyer. Pharaoh, I mean, in the pipe 555, that's like, if you're a dork like I am, it means something to you.
No, I don't know that.
Basically, it's what she announces to the crew when they're in the pipe, when they're dropping to the planet. Gotcha. This movie is immensely quotable, but yeah, Spunkmeyer is her co-pilot. I mean, that's a name.
When can I get out of this chicken shit out there?
Hudson, come here.
Go here.
Come here. But yeah, the briefing sequence is like interspersed with the loading of all the equipment and stuff, and that's where we get to see like Ripley demonstrate that she knows how to operate the power loader, and Hicks is impressed, so he's like, lady.
I do like her. Hicks. He was already smitten, but now she's blue collar too. He's like, oh gosh.
Just like standing at a certain angle.
My favorite quote of the whole movie is when she's explaining to them what they can expect, because they're not even sure this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, this would be during the briefing sequence.
The briefing sequence where I think Paul Reiser's kind of like holding court, like he's the one like giving the information. He's like, we don't know what's going to be down there, but she thinks this might be down there, so she's explaining. Mm-hmm. And Vasquez gives I just need to know one thing, man. Where they are. And she's like, are you done? Like, you have no idea what you're getting yourselves into.
Are you done, little girl?
Yeah. Like, she's like, I hope you're right. I hope you guys are as confident as you think you are, because you don't know what's coming if this is what's happened. And we'll know pretty quick if that's what's happened.
Yeah, and she reiterates that just one of these things was able to kill everyone on my ship.
And then, I don't know if they mentioned it, but they also had no weapons. So, like, well, maybe that was the problem they had last time.
there's one character, a very important character that we have not mentioned.
Yeah, that's this fucking guy.
Lieutenant Gorman.
Yeah.
I do not know the name of this actor, but he did a great job.
He did do a good job.
He did a great job because this is the most unenviable of roles. The lieutenant in a war movie. The green lieutenant in a war movie.
I was gonna say the green lieutenant, because I was gonna say the guy from Platoon that Matt Dillon bites off the can. That dude. They've got no respect for him. What's his face? Ted Danson, Saving Private Ryan, or even what's his face? Tom Sizemore. Tom Sizemore's enlisted.
Oh, he's a sergeant.
No, he's a sergeant.
Sergeant Horvath.
Yeah, he commands more respect than
Mike.
Yeah.
Mike.
Guys, get the wind knocked out of me.
Yeah, I'm okay.
But yeah, this guy, it's a thankless role.
Yeah, no, Lieutenant Gorman, in retrospect, as a kid, I hated him because I was supposed to.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, as a piece of cinema, it's damn, that guy really, he did a good job.
Yeah.
Because he's playing a character that adds a lot to the story. So what we have here is we have a green lieutenant who is in command of a bunch of seasoned soldiers. And we have a Pone who is his appendage, who is also very seasoned and clearly has a lot of camaraderie with these guys. He bunks with them, and he, the way he speaks with them, he's one of the guys. But then you have Gorman, who sits at a different table in the dining hall with the suit and the lady and the robot.
I didn't realize until you mentioned, there's a huge power struggle here because I don't know who's in charge.
Exactly. That's by design.
Gotcha.
Because Gorman, just like Tom Skerritt in Alien, his title tells everyone, I'm in charge. He doesn't know anything. He's not in charge. He knows by the book stuff. He knows how to follow a flow chart. But he's never actually done anything. By
rank, he should be in charge. However, Burke is the head of the company who enlisted the military. So Burke is somewhat in charge. But he's also consulting with Ridley, who should pretty much be in charge. And then Michael Biehn kind of just jumps in there at one point. He's
Michael Biehn gets promoted on the fly, basically.
He should be.
Yeah, no, he's a corporal.
Yeah, he's a corporal, but he's also...
He's a corporal who takes control of the unit.
I mean, whichever head he's thinking with, he's, backing up Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. Whichever head he's
It doesn't matter. Whichever way you turn it.
Both of them.
Good or bad, he's making the right decision.
Yeah. He's
both of them.
Feels...
I like that.
Feels good.
That would be
Sounds good.
That'd be a good thing to say to somebody, if you're in a situation like that. Which head you thinking with? Both of them.
Both of them, motherfucker. Get back to work.
Damn, I can't argue with that.
Get back in the tunnel. But yeah, Gorman always struck me as a really interesting character because he has the weight of the world on him, and he doesn't know how to handle it. And the helmet cam, the shoulder cam sequence, when everything goes bad, it goes real bad.
It goes real bad.
And he doesn't have an answer for it, which is when Ripley kind of jumps in and takes control of the situation as best she can. She's not making the right choice, maybe, but she's making a choice, whereas he just freezes up and doesn't have any idea what to do. And during the drop sequence, which is pretty great.
I love the drop sequence.
I love when they run out to the craft. Go, go, go!
They're in it. They're in it.
Apone rallies the fuck out of them. It's great. They all, and there's like a traditional military drum beat happening here.
I keep thinking the Predator.
Yeah, kind of. It serves the same purpose. It gets you pumped up. But we run out to the drop ship, which is I was always disappointed by the fact that it has so many missiles on it, and you never get to see him do anything. It has so many missiles. But yeah, we're all in the shuttlecraft, and as we're doing the drop, there's that moment where Vasquez asked, I forget who asked initially, but how many drops have you had, Lieutenant? And he's like he says a number, but he says simulated.
Simulated, yeah.
And you just see everybody look at each other
pussy.
Information that would have been useful to me yesterday.
Great.
So the point is, he's never done anything.
No.
But he's in charge, so we have to defer to him.
At least it's not Vietnam. I'm just saying.
Well, all the initial combat scenes in this movie are pretty obviously allegory for that.
Yeah. It's an ambush.
Yeah, it's a jungle, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, what intensifies things even further is that his command style is from the safety of like the APC.
Yeah.
He's not even in the field with them.
Yeah.
He's a considerable distance away.
And
he's in a computer chair.
I say it's easy to have control over people when you're at base camp. Like everybody's got to listen. When you're out in the field, like no, not so much.
Yeah, I mean it. I'm sure like there's an internal logic where it's like, yeah, it's easier to issue commands when you don't have the pressure being fired upon and all that. But for the purposes of telling this story, it's a pretty big signifier of like how badly things are going to go to shit.
Yeah. Drop
goes off without a hitch, and then we explore Hadley's Hope a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of it, actually.
This sequence takes a while.
Yeah.
Do we find Newt while we're looking through? Because I think we find Newt.
We do.
When the camp, like when we get in, as like half the team kind of goes ahead and the other, like a couple of them stay behind.
Yeah, we do like a formation where stack up, check, clear, second team moves in, and we're just like going hall by hall kind of.
Yeah. We find Mute Newt.
Looks like somebody really humped the bunk.
So this was interesting too. Is I think Sigourney Weaver's watching on the feeds with him, and she was like, "Where are they heading to now?" And they're like, "Some area." And he's like, "Do they have live rounds in there?" And he's like, "Yeah, why wouldn't? Well, of course they have live rounds." He's like, "If they shoot that, this place is gonna explode."
Yeah, that happens when we get to the alien's nest.
Yeah.
So after we've encountered Newt.
Yeah.
I think we also encounter the face huggers in stasis. This is where Bishop does his dissection or whatever.
Oh.
But yeah, by the time we get to where the colonists are, we've pulled up a schematic of the place, and we have it's like a motion tracker or an infrared display that shows like blips for every living thing.
Yeah.
It's just like a blob of blips.
Yeah.
It's all those colonists we're supposed to find, I think they're all there.
They're all right there.
It's like, this is not suspicious at all.
But I think Newt was saying like, they're all gone. Like,
yeah. Newt. Do you remember like how we first meet Newt?
Yeah, she's
It's an event.
Yeah, it's like it's misdirection. Like, oh, we think it's a thing, and then they like, oh, it's a little girl, and she ends up getting bitten, and then I love her little nook that she has. She has
she's got Ninja Turtles 2, like the subway station.
She's got an awesome little nook.
Seriously, man.
Yeah, she's got a little thing that says like her name. Rebecca is her name, I think. And then she's got a dumb little teddy bear or something.
She's got a doll's head.
Yeah, there you go. It's weird. She got a doll's head, and then they end up bringing her back, and they give her some hot cocoa.
Yeah. This starts the relationship between Ripley and Newt, and like on the whole, like how do you feel about Ripley and Newt? Because this crosses over into the third movie. I'm just curious.
Kinda.
Yeah, it does.
It's an important part of it. Yeah.
Like how do you feel about it? Because I mean, Ripley's a character we spend a lot of time with, but I don't know that we ever actually get to know her that well. But Newt is probably like the strongest attempt we make at trying to add more dimension to her character.
I suppose so. I guess it's a good way to do it. I don't, because you could tell how she was with the cat. She was just like, cat's fine.
Well, she kind of hated that cat, to be honest.
Yeah.
Jonesy, I think she calls him like a butthead or something.
I guess it might be to tame her. Like, she was very assertive in the first movie, deservedly so. Like, she does a good job. So far in the movie, the way she's portrayed is she's kind of, I'm like, for lack of a better word, kind of bitchy. Like, she's just not really, deservedly, she's not in a good mood.
Another James Cameron detail. Smoking.
Yeah.
Smoking but not smoking.
Smoking but not smoking. Yeah, she's kind of, not mean, but yeah, she's just kind of got an edge to her, and I think this is a way to develop her character a little bit more, and also kind of like just tame that a little bit, bring it down, give her characters something like I said, these are Marines that she's with. I'm like, I am not the one that's going to try to save the Marine, because they already know how to save themselves better than I can do. But a little girl, that's somebody who needs her.
Yeah.
And I think that might just be, yeah.
Well, what's interesting is like they really try to emphasize the theme of like surrogate like motherhood. And again, it crosses over into the third movie where we get that the infamous autopsy scene, which
Yeah.
apparently does not exist in its original form. The original theatrical release of that film was infamous for being really grisly.
Oh, really?
Apparently, there's a lot that was cut out of that scene that was making people nauseous.
Yeesh.
Yeah. Her acting, her reactions to that sequence are, I think that's enough. I mean, especially since it's an autopsy of a young girl.
Yeah, a very young girl.
But regardless of what you think about Newt as a character, the thematic content of having an alien queen and a surrogate mother, human mother, pitted against each other, that's pretty fucking great.
Yeah,
that's pretty fucking great. Because, by the end of the film, the alien queen is like, "You killed my kids." And she's like, "Well, you're not going to kill my kid." Yeah. And it's thematically, it's not rich, but it's present and obvious.
Yeah.
Which, for people in the cheap seats or whatever, sometimes you need that.
Well, I mean, like the Terminator, the T-800 takes over as kind of like a surrogate father. It's even mentioned in the film, and Todd is not a good foster parent. He is a piece of shit.
Shut up, you lousy piece of shit.
Yeah. Don't you tell me, get rid of that fucking mutt. That is his fucking in that is. I told you to get rid of that fucking mutt. Like that's
a juicy.
There was a juicy fuck. Yeah.
He puckered those lips.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just whipped it.
And he also has one of the best deaths in movie history.
It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
That sound effect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Metallic.
But yeah, maybe that's just the James Cameron theme. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it.
I don't know, but it's present and I like it.
Yeah, it's fine, yeah. I get it.
But I don't like Newt. Mostly because of the girl's performance.
She doesn't. I mean, she doesn't really do any. She does nothing in the movie, like the character itself. Like she just represents something for Sigourney Weaver. Her character doesn't really do much.
Yeah, I mean, she exists as a thing to be protected and nurtured. I will give her this. As bad as I think her performance is, it is memorable. Mm-hmm. Mostly because of when I saw this movie. Like, again, audio really plays a part into my memory of this movie. Like, there's so many quotables, and because her delivery is so weird, she might be British. I'm not sure. She's Ripley.
Yeah.
And like affirmative.
Oh,
like things like that are very memorable to me. Even if it's not good.
It also adds weight to Paul Reiser's character and how big of a piece of shit he is.
Yeah, he's a pretty big piece of shit.
Like,
he's willing to kill a kid.
Like, he's looking at them like, I do not care what happens to you.
He's doing the arsonist thing. He's got to be there for it.
He's doing it to a child and a woman. Like, he's just like, oh yeah, you guys are gonna get face.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. That scene in particular is pretty fucking good.
It is really good. He's great.
He's such a great dick.
No, Newt's from Panama City, Florida.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So she just has a weird affectation.
He might have you got to get rid of that drawl. She might have had a little bit of an accent.
Could be. It may have been distracting.
Because I mean, what's his face? I don't know who discovered Brad Renfro in a trailer. Literally, that's where they found him. I forgot who discovered him though.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well.
Whoever did the client.
Oh.
Joel Schumacher.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder what he was doing in that trailer.
Yeah. No, he was looking for somebody that would fit the like I need some kid from the country who's poor to play this part basically, and that's what he found. Is some kid living with his grandma.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
We take our journey into hell.
Yes.
And this sequence alone is, I mean, there's this whole second half of this movie is amazing, but this sequence in particular is like one of the most important to my childhood.
This is where the Alien turns into a different movie, completely.
Well, this is where all that bravado gets smashed to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
This is where that warning that Ripley issued to our cast of characters and to the audience finally gets lived up to.
This is his chest burster because, as we mentioned before,
well, it's literally a chest burster.
It's literally a chest burster, but this is like not making the chest burster into a giant person, not making it bigger. It's his way of making it bigger.
Well, I think it's a really skillful bit of filmmaking where we have that really intense scene where the chest bursting happens and then we stay there.
Yeah.
We don't leave. Whereas in Alien, when the chest bursting happens, the alien leaves the room and then we cut.
Yeah.
And we go about our business.
Well, it was also a sterile atmosphere.
Yeah.
and it's a little more alarming because this is supposed to be clean. This has never happened. We're going into this expecting to find something.
Yeah,
wrong.
and something awful just happened, and then, oh wait, more things are happening.
Yeah,
it's like it's just getting worse, and that's what makes the scene is that we're in it, and
we are fucking in it.
Yeah, so like,
but the same idea of like I didn't notice that. Like when we were talking about the alien swinging with the chains, you don't notice it, and then it comes out. Same here. You're like, oh shit, that just happened, and you didn't realize what's around you.
I'm like replaying the whole.
Yeah,
the
you're gonna watch it tonight, aren't you?
I probably am. I'm replaying that whole sequence because I know it by heart. But like, the reason why I call it the Journey into Hell is because, like I said, this is all allegory for Vietnam. So we have a bunch of guys with state-of-the-art equipment fighting an unknown thing in a really hostile foreign environment. Yeah. So, like, just from a visual standpoint, the brilliance of this is that, sure, we've been exploring a derelict colony. You know, it's all smashed to shit. Someone really humped the bunk. Acid for blood. So we see, like, there's holes in the walls. And I think Hicks even remarks that it's like something happened here. Like, there was a big fight here. Yeah. It happened long enough ago that there's no evidence anymore, but obviously something bad happened here. But then we get to, like, the reactor room where we know all the colonists or something. Some organisms are all clustered together. Looks like a goddamn town meeting or town hall or whatever. Or and this
post-orgy.
To make matters worse, this is when Ripley holds up her finger and says,
"No ammunition."
Yeah. By the way, that's a fucking fusion reactor or whatever. If you rupture that, we all dead.
This was one of my favorite scenes, is the ammunition.
Yeah. And to deal with this, Gorman orders Apone to collect magazines from everyone, put them into a fucking sack. That's not going to bite you in the ass later. But yeah, we're going through this facility, and the visual storytelling that happens here, the environment transforms. It goes from being a man-made metal and iron facility
to the Predator ship.
To I don't even know what.
Yeah.
It's just indescribable. It looks like the innards of a giant animal. Like, it looks like spinal columns lining the ceiling. There's I mean, it's done through matte paintings and really clever set designs.
Or extraterrestrial colon, something along
But basically, like, take what you know of what the alien looks like and just paste it all over the walls. It looks like you're in the body of a giant black organism.
Yeah, but it's also... I get where you're going. I know what you mean. But it's also not that. Because you don't know what you're going into. It would be obvious if you were walking past xenomorphs just stacked on top of each other. But that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
There's a lovely tilt shot that I think was done half with like a matte painting where we get to see the ceiling. Instead of, up until this point, it's been like industrial equipment, like piping and stuff and vents. And now it's just like I said, giant spinal columns just as far as the eye can see. And I think Frost even remarks it's like it's really muggy in here. It's like really humid. Jungle. But yeah, we go through here and we find a survivor. And it's a lady. Quote. Survivor.
We have somebody who's not dead yet.
Yeah, and she is cocooned against a wall. So we took that concept that was on the cutting room floor of the first film with Tom Skerritt being cocooned for whatever the fuck reason. And now we have a lady who's like strung up against the wall and just covered in fucking goo, and she's pale as shit. She looks like a zombie. In fact, everybody assumed she was dead. In fact, most of the people in the room are dead. Yeah. And then we lift her head and we get the the eyes open. We get an orchestra sting.
Oh, it's a sting.
Yeah. 10-year-old Trevor's going, oh, fuck.
You feel it. You still, even when you rewatch it, you feel it. You know it's coming.
Is this the first instance of a kill me?
I think so.
I think so.
But I think Skerritt in that edited
I think you're right. I think you're right in the director's cut. I think he does say that.
I really wish they would have kept that, but it's fine that they did.
Yeah. What we're talking about is what's become a series tradition, where somebody with a chest burster in them, before it comes out, tells whoever they meet, "Kill me."
Yeah.
This has been in pretty much all the movies.
It's got to not feel good.
Well, again, Hispanic man with acid burned face somehow did not know that he had one in him.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is like people who are up against the thing are like, dude, kill me. Like, I have no idea what's happening to me. This is awful. But as it goes on, like, I'm fine. I just gotta take a shit, I think. And then...
Even that little kid at the beginning of APP Requiem, he seemed kind of uncomfortable. Like he
something in there.
Yeah. But yeah, she gets chest bursted. It's real tasty, and it's real tasty, and the animatronics are much better. Especially because the thing never ejects from her chest. It just just comes out, and it's kind of like lodged in there. And they flamethrower her.
Fuck yeah.
But the editing here is masterful. Holy shit! Like, this is why I was terrified of this when I was a kid, is because the music is that, like, I don't know what kind of stringed instrument they're using here, but it's a combination of like synthesizer and like violin. It just sounds eerie and awful. And we keep cutting back to Ripley's reaction to what's happening, and she's just like bawling.
Yeah.
Like, she's freaking the fuck out, and Gorman's just like, I don't even know what I'm seeing. But the point is Ripley's reaction to it, and then cutting back to what's happening in front of the Marines. It's like, it's happening again.
Yeah. It's almost like it's not happening because she's watching it through screens.
Yeah. There's a barrier there.
Yeah.
And that feeling of helplessness is amplified even further because, like, her friend or her coworker, this happened to her right in front of her.
She's got a crush on Michael Biehn. He doesn't have a mustache right now. He's looking good. He's not creepy like he's in the Abyss.
But yeah, they flamethrower the lady, and then there's that moment of stillness.
Yeah. Right
before everything goes bad.
Doesn't it's Adam Baldwin in Predator 2 that's doing it, where he's just like, they're all dead. But what does he? I was misremembering. I'm like, what does the lieutenant say here? Does he even say anything, or is he just like, oonk?
If I remember right, not a whole lot is said here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This is where communication starts to break down. But the real catalyst for when things really hit the fan is so again, the music kind of plays in, and we get this awesome shot of just a shape up towards the ceiling, and it just like rotates and curls over, and it's like, oh, that's a thing. Like that isn't a piece of the environment. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And then there's that great shot where there's an alien hiding in plain sight, like completely in plain sight. In HD, it's not as good because you can see it. And, I've seen the movie 1,000 times.
It's there.
So I'm looking right at it. But one of the lady Marines, I forget her name.
It doesn't matter.
But she's
not going to make it.
She's somewhat more clever than everyone else because she's like, they have infrared sensors on their helmets that they only use occasionally, but she has hers down. She's like, HUD's motion tracker.
Oh,
motion tracker.
That's going to come up later.
Motion tracker is one of the most important plot devices in this movie. It builds tension like nobody's business. So Hudson is carrying a device that's directional. So it's like a 180-degree spectrum, and it detects movement. Beep, 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 beep.
That's what it is. That's
movement.
That they also use that in Predator 2. Who directed that fucking thing? They definitely saw this movie.
Oh, it was the guy who did I think Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
Oh, that tells you something.
Yeah, British fella. Good artist, but not a very good director.
Stephen Hopkins.
There you go. But yeah, the motion tracker is what kicks things off. We get the beep, 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 beep. And we're using that all through the facility up to this point, too. And there's a lot of false images and whatnot. And it tips the audience off that, like, something's coming. And then Hudson calls out, movement! And then the lady Marine, she's looking around the room, and she's just like, I'm looking everywhere, but is it possible these... She actually, like, verbalizes it. It's like, they're not coming up on infrared at all.
Yeah.
And then the wall moves, and like,
bam,
it just like grabs her from behind, and holy shit, yanks her up into the ceiling like Batman. It's so good, so good.
What's the chief's name?
Oh, Apone.
Apone. Does he die here?
That's what's interesting. Because it's only said through dialogue, but yeah, he most of the Marines buy it here. One of them gets set on fire, I think by her. When she's being pulled up into the ceiling, she shoots out a jet of flamethrower.
It's a fucking shit show. Also, yeah.
Sets one of her comrades on fire. the bag of ammo catches fire, explodes, kills a guy with it.
They're also shooting, and they're like, what the fuck are you guys shooting?
Yeah, Drake slips Vasquez.
Oh, I love that. They just, like, they take him back, and I love the look. He just, like, without even looking, just hands it right back.
Yeah, it's some
that.
sort of device that's like a connector for her smart gun.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. It's a modified MG42,
yeah.
German machine gun. The pulse rifles are Thompsons.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the fucking World War II Thompsons.
Interesting.
But with, a kit put over them.
I wonder if that was on purpose. It was.
I'm sure that made them heavy as shit, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
But, yeah, things are going to shit. And then Vasquez lets out a "Let's rock!"
Yeah. I'd love to have her on my team. She's so
just
badass.
Stay behind her.
Yeah,
You just
she literally hold my dick. All right?
Yeah, just get behind Vasquez. You'll be fine.
Putting the team on my back.
You will be
fine.
Fine. But yeah, Hicks, by the way, has a shotgun.
Yes,
Comes in handy a little
Classic.
later.
Yeah. It's retro.
Keep this on hand for close encounters.
He also doesn't have sleeves. He just doesn't.
Because he's too cool for sleeves.
It's gotta be cold up there. I don't know why they don't have sleeves on. I mean, what's his name? Jesse Ventura. I think Jesse Ventura has long sleeves on when they're in Predator, and they're in the jungle. One of them has long sleeves on at one point. I believe he does.
I think he does
at one point.
Yeah, and then he gets shot, and I think it comes up. But
yeah,
but yeah, you're not wrong on that.
Somebody's gotta wear long sleeves.
But yeah, everything goes to shit here, and again, the editing, the music is really eerie. It's extremely chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many cuts and so many weird viewpoints because we keep cutting back to the APC and like Gorman trying to direct traffic, Ripley freaking the fuck out, and then the Marines like shooting the aliens. And from the commotion, we get the sense that aliens are being shot, but we get very little confirmation that they're being killed.
Yeah.
But from all the voice chatter and the chaos, it's like, fuck all. I don't know what's going on. But Apone gets snatched from the ceiling, and I remember it very distinctly because Gorman kind of is responsible. Gorman is like stumbling over his words, and he has like a very complex course of action he wants the group to take. And he keeps repeating himself, and Apone can't hear him because there's a lot of gunfire going on, but it's like it's overly complex, it's too wordy. It should just be get the fuck out, or fall back to this point or something. But it's like, I want you to like fall back by fire teams, and Apone keeps like being like, I can't understand you, but I'm trying because you're my commanding officer. And during this conversation, Alien jumps down on top of him, and he lets out a comical scream.
I didn't catch his scream.
It starts out as like a ugh, and then it turns into a ah!
Like a scared scream? Like,
yeah, but it starts out as like ooh, and then ah!
That's funny.
But much later in the movie. Well, not much later, but like 15 minutes later in the movie. Hudson points out when everybody's safe after all this business that Apone's vital signs and some of the other Marines are still active because they have equipment on them that gets transmitted back to the APC. And so knowing what we know about the aliens, we know that they aren't outright killing people. They're harvesting them.
Yes.
So Apone does die in the movie. I mean, the fucking site gets exploded.
Yeah.
Like a nuclear explosion. So obviously he dies, but not in that moment. But yeah, I could just talk about this scene all fucking day, but the conclusion of it obviously is Ripley tears Gorman's balls off and puts them in his mouth and starts driving the APC.
So she's going after Burke. She's basically going to give him she's going to chew him out. Does he know what's happening? I think that he's aware of what's happening.
At this point in the movie, he's actually like still on her side. His heel turn comes after we haven't
found the face hugger yet.
Yeah.
This is where I'm a little great because this is where Bill Paxton's like, "Game over, man, game fucking over."
If I remember it, that's after the craft, after the drop shit crashes.
Yes.
But yeah, man. I don't want to go through the whole movie front to back, so just like I want you to start directing me because, like I said, I can just talk. Stop. I can just talk this whole fucking movie.
Well, we have to get. So I'm trying to think chronologically what happens. Like after the gunfight, we have to regroup. and that's kind of where we're at.
Ripley forces that by crashing through the wall.
Yeah.
with the APC.
She saves the day. She gets them all back, and they get back to the wherever the main. Is it to the main ship, the mothership?
Blown the transaxle. You're just grinding metal. He's down.
So are they?
He's down.
Are they still in the facility? Do they get stuck in the facility?
Basically, the first course of action is Ripley knocks down the wall with the APC. The survivors file into the vehicle. Drake buys it here. He gets a tasty death. This movie isn't very violent, to be honest, but Drake gets it bad.
I don't remember what happens to him.
Drake gets it bad not only from like a oh my god that's awful standpoint, but also from a dramatic standpoint.
How does he get it?
It's great. I'm surprised you don't remember.
How does he get it?
So we're all filing into the APC. Hicks calls out, "Drake, we are leaving!" Yeah. And Drake is like running out of ammo. He's taking off all his armor and stuff. Put a pin in that for the next 2 seconds. And Vasquez, they're like, she has a fucking mounted machine gun.
Yeah.
You know the mounted machine guns they had in Private Ryan at the beach? Yeah. That's what she's carrying.
Yeah.
Jeanette Goldstein is carrying one of those.
5'2" Jeanette
in
Goldstein.
her hands.
Yeah.
So she needs a little help getting into the APC. And it just so happens that Drake is kind of like covering her as she's being loaded in. And she sees an alien like come like rearing up out of the environment like they do from the walls, and they come out of nowhere because they look like the environment. They're camouflaged. And it whips around, very dramatic turn, and she shoots it, and it explodes, and its acid blood goes all over Drake.
I don't remember that.
And he...
Oh, yeah. He's done.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
And he collapses in a heap in a very dramatic death because we get a nice shot of his face just gone, and then he falls over with his flamethrower, and he like kind of burns the APC as they're taking off.
Oh.
And he's done. It's like, no, he's done. In fact, Hicks tells Vasquez, "Forget him, he's gone."
I don't remember him at all.
And we get, like I said, I can just talk this whole movie front to back because there's that great moment. If ever there was a trailer moment, I don't think it was in the trailer, but they're closing the shutter door, the van door, the sliding van door.
Yeah.
And then Alien puts its fingers in the door and keeps them from shutting it, and it's just got his face sticking through the little hole there. And then Hicks puts his shotgun in his mouth, blows the back of its head out, and again though, and I love how desperate this fight is, because like even when they're winning, they're losing, because we just saw Vasquez shoot an alien to save her friend, ended up killing her friend. And now we have an alien that's trying to get inside the APC. Hicks blows its fucking head off, but Hudson gets burned on his arm. And it's like, god damn, just can't fucking win.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just Vasquez, Hudson, Hicks. Gorman is concussed and falls unconscious when Ripley's driving. Burke and Ripley and Newt and Bishop. But Bishop's not even present. He's back at the facility. And yeah, we escape, and the plan is immediately to call the dropship and just get the fuck out. And this is where the discussion of nuking the site from orbit is the only way to be sure.
Yeah.
And Hicks assumes command because Apone is being held captive and Gorman is incapacitated.
And Burke is the one who's against it, because he's like, this is not...
There's a substantial dollar value attached to this facility.
And this belongs to the company.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You don't have the right to do that. This is, again, the power struggle. And Michael Bihn's like, oh, we're nuking it, bro.
Yeah.
No.
He and Ripley have like a power couple moment.
Both heads, yeah.
Beyonce and Jay-Z.
That's a couple you do not want to cross.
No.
Yeah. Where does the face hugger come in?
Some stuff happens. We'll just gloss over it. We're in the facility. Bishop spends about half of this movie just studying facehugger corpses because he's into that. And again, this reinforces Ripley being like, I don't trust you.
I don't trust him.
Couple notes about the director's cut. During the drop, Hudson has an additional scene where he's just talking about how awesome it is to be a Marine, and he's just talking up some of the toys they have. Like some of the weapons.
Yeah, I do remember this.
It's not in the theatrical version. I think it's better that way, to be honest.
We don't need it.
Yeah, it's extraneous.
But I do remember
it's just padding. And then, if I remember right, the director's cut has a more explicit tease of the alien queen. Because, like I said, at some point Ripley does have that line, so who's laying these eggs? But then, again, Hudson has an additional bit of dialogue where he talks about termites. And he's like, yeah, you know, a queen, like a big fucker. Like, and it's just him riffing, just having a good time. Again, I think it's better without it. But, like, probably the most significant addition the director's cut has is the sentry guns.
Yes.
That's completely excised from the theatrical version. The only inclusion it has in the theatrical cut of the film is a shuttered door closing where you can see that they have a sentry gun posted up, but it's never used.
Yeah.
Whereas the director's cut has like a couple of minutes of footage of basically just watching the same alien suit explode over and over. It's stock footage mostly of like an alien on a closed set exploding, and then sentry guns shooting into the distance, and then watching an ammo counter go down. So it's not terribly dramatic. What it does demonstrate, though, is like how dire the situation is, where it's like we have X number of bullets for these automated sentry guns that are keeping us alive.
We need to make them count. And
we almost exhaust our ammunition in like one skirmish. It's like, okay, we don't have much time. So yeah, obviously the dropship crash is really good special effects. Like that's the first order of business.
I think this thing dropship is from the beginning of T2. I feel like because one of those comes up in there.
It has a similar silhouette actually. The only difference is like the X-wings it has. The other ones has like a two jet engines. It looks almost like a concept of like an Osprey, but with like jet engines instead of propellers.
I think I figured out why I never listened to the soundtrack or never noticed it is because I saw Terminator 2 when I was very young, and I know that soundtrack in my bones. I know if you play me like a 5-second clip of any part of that movie, I can tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah, me too.
I think it might be the most noticeable score for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with instrumentation because it's actually really, really minimalist.
But there's so many different. It switches so much. Like
T1000 just a
that's what I said. That whole beginning part was just But I mean, like during the actual action sequences and the slower parts, there's specific scores.
Oh man, that I like when it gets more uppity during the dirt bike chase. It's like yeah. At one point it's like
But you have the semi, you have the dirt bike, and the motorcycle, all the different noises on that. God damn it! I think I'm gonna end up watching Terminator 2 when I get back.
It's a good pick.
I think that's what I'm gonna have to go with.
It's a very good pick. It's like one of those very rare anytime movies where it's like it's not seasonal. It's not
seasonal.
Yeah, Terminator 2 is not seasonal.
It has no season.
It's year round. It's genetically engineered.
It's year round. Yeah.
It's not none of that organic tomatoes. It's a genetically engineered tomato.
Yeah, your team lost the Super Bowl. Go on Terminator 2. Make you feel better.
Honestly, make you feel better.
Make you feel better.
But yeah, the dropship crash is like I think it was done with a rear projection, so like, it's obviously a miniature.
Yeah,
but it's like careening towards the actors who were in the foreground.
Yeah,
and I think it was just they did the playback and they had to like match the timing, so all the actors had to scramble probably 1,000 times to get the playback just right.
I see. That's what I like. I like the dropship crash. Probably one of might be my favorite shot. Just this sequence right here. After they've gotten out of the gunfight, that whole sequence, I really enjoy.
Well, again, the pacing, the sequencing. So we just came out of hell.
Yeah,
like we barely survived. Like
you're still not out of it.
Yeah, like 3/4 of us are gone, and everyone who was in a leadership position is gone. That's the most important thing. And it's like Hudson and Hicks.
Yeah.
It's like Hudson and Hicks are now in command. Hudson's worthless because he's freaking the fuck out. Well, also, he's badly burned.
So they get the face hugger. They somehow get the face hugger, and
It was contained in stasis. Like, it was just in the facility.
Mm-hmm. And they're stuck at the facility right now.
Yeah, after the dropship goes down, which, by the way, Pharaoh gets her face caved in with the alien tongue.
Mm-hmm.
That image of her hand wiping against the windshield.
Yeah.
The blood.
Yeah.
It's a good subtle gory death where it's like you don't actually see her head get caved in, but just seeing the aftermath. And then that directly preceding the dropship kind of like wiggling. It's like, oh, she drunk. Oh, she dead.
Like, oh no.
But yeah, after the thing crashes, we salvage the parts and we're back in the facility, and then facehuggers.
Yeah, so we get somehow I think Paul Reiser Burke ends up sending out like a memo, like, listen, like, we've got this awesome thing and we're gonna bring it back. But I think that's what happens. But there's a power struggle here where he wants to not blow up the place, and Sigourney Weaver's also like gonna report him because he was going to contain a very, very dangerous specimen to the expanse of the rest of the crew.
If I remember right, she becomes aware that he was aware that the colonists were going to that planet and knew the potential risk.
Yeah.
Which is why she's just like, fuck you, Burke.
Yeah.
And then they have a verbal exchange, and he gives her a Paul Reiser look that's like, I'm going to get you, but I'm going to do it in the squirreliest, weaseliest way possible.
I mean, it's really smart because she's like, you're done. Like,
She's also carrying a gun at this point, I think.
She's like, I'm going to nail you to the wall, you little shit.
Right to the wall.
And he's just like, all right, fine, go to sleep.
Watch what happens.
Watch what happens. So yeah, they end up they're sleeping in like a quarantine area.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep safe from the facehugger or anything out there.
Well,
and,
she goes to bed with Newt.
Yeah.
She and Newt are kind of hitting it off. She and Hicks have a cute bonding moment where he teaches her how to shoot.
Yeah.
I like when he's like, "Oh, that's the grenade launcher. You don't need to know about that." And she's like, "Fuck you!" Like, he's like, "You started this. You show me the whole thing."
This is a charming moment that you see sometimes in movies where the guy's teaching the girl something, and it's kind of like come from behind, show her how to do it. A girl I work with, apparently, she went on a date with a customer one time when she was very, very young. She said it was awful. I'm like, well, how awful? She's like, well, he asked me to go play pool with him, and I'm like, I don't want to play pool if you're really good. I don't want to do that because I'm really bad. And he was really, really good, so good that he was just like clearing the table. Yeah. And he's like, let me show you how to do it. So he's doing like the
straddle.
Oh god, she's like, I never did that again.
God, sometimes I'm glad I'm a dude, and I don't have to put up with dudes.
When you hear some of the stuff, you're like, oh god,
yeah.
Why do you leave the house, ladies? Just
honestly,
stay
it's like,
home.
how are you not all nervous wrecks?
Some of them
a lot of them are.
Not a lot of them, some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pouncing lesson, and
it's important to the plot because she makes use of that tool later in the movie, and we need to have it justified. That's my business card holder. Yeah.
It didn't break.
Again, from a writing standpoint, it's important that it's there because there's always going to be some nerd in the audience who's like Star Wars, like, how come she knows how to use the lightsaber? Yeah. It's like, well, she grew up in a rough environment and has a staff that may as well be a sword.
It's true. She hasn't used a gun. She didn't use a gun in the first movie. She hasn't used a gun yet in this movie, so it makes sense if somebody has to show her to use a gun. Exactly. She's also blue collar, so yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go to sleep, and I think she wakes up to the thing from the Addams Family, like, kind of deal.
Snapping at her.
Yeah.
It's terrible when you stutter. Morticia, home, send help.
We love the Addams Family movies.
So good.
They're so good. But anyway, the facehuggers just kind of like piddling around, which is weird because when they come out of the egg, the egg, it just goes straight to the heat source.
Yeah, and they don't creep around.
This one's creeping around, and maybe it's because it's been out of there for a while. It doesn't know what it's doing. It might have a certain amount of time that it has to lay its
you
eggs.
Can't help but think of like insects or something, like a fly, where it's like it has very limited shelf life, like a mosquito or something, where it's like it's got to do its business and just die.
And when we've seen the facehuggers on screen shoot out of the eggs, in some movies somebody's standing close, other movies they're standing right over the egg.
Yeah, Billy Crudup was making out with the egg before it got him. Idiot.
But
yeah, this whole encounter, I remember I always remember it being pretty intense because sometimes this movie's made fun of by people for silly reasons because a huge portion of it is lit entirely in red.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's effective.
I think it's extremely effective, and it covers bad special effects too.
I love Paul Reiser's acting here. Is that Sigourney Weaver's? He like comes up to the door, and like the door's locked for some reason. She's like, "Burke, let me out," and he doesn't even acknowledge her. Almost, he's kind of just like looking into the room.
He's just making sure that what he needs to get done gets done.
I don't even know if he makes eye contact with her. Like
Probably not.
He doesn't even look at her. He's just like looking around.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of weasels his way away.
And she's like going to an extreme of like banging chairs against the glass and stuff, but it's, damage resistant glass.
Quarantine! It's quarantine!
Newt's screaming the whole time. If I remember right, like, do the sprinklers go off too? Like,
it's possible.
This is a messy scene.
Yeah.
And
I mean, well, after we've just kind of gotten over like the really rough part of the movie, like we've been pretty chill for the most part, and it just went from 0 to 100 in no time. So at this point, we're both kind of like recovering a little bit.
Yeah, we've had a minute here and there to like take stock of the situation, like ration our supplies. I think this is where the statistic of 17 days gets thrown out there, where Hicks is questioned on how long is it going to be before anyone knows we're missing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he pauses for a second. It's a long pause.
17 days.
Yeah, it's that kind of response. It's like,
7 or 8.
I mean, Hudson's response
days.
is 17 days. We're not going to last 17 hours, and he's probably right.
Yeah, he's like in the first movie. Like we have different people like trying to handle the situation. Lieutenant's he's not handling it well. He's just like
I don't even think he's awake yet.
No. Bill Paxton, of course, is your Yaphet Kotto. He's just like aggressively scared.
Yeah. No, he is a soldier, and what I love about Hudson as a character, and I do love Hudson. Like Hudson's amazing. What I love about him is that he is good.
Yeah.
Like, he's very competent. In fact, whenever we're doing technical stuff, he's the guy that's been opening all the doors. Like he's been hot wiring all the doors. When we're getting like map schematics of the facility and planning how to secure our location, he's the guy that Hicks is telling what to do, and he's doing it.
He's the guy that knows how good his job is, and he doesn't have to.
Well, he's the guy that he only knows how to express himself that way.
Yeah.
Like every time he has an insecurity, everybody's got to know about it.
Yeah.
But as soon as somebody slaps him, and like as soon as Apone says, "Shut up, Hick," what
did I do?
Yeah, let's come here. As soon as somebody yells at him and tells him to come here, yeah, he gets in line and he does his job, and he's very competent.
Yeah.
And I like that because that's kind of rare to have a character that serves both functions. Where it's like, yeah, he is obnoxious, but by the time he buys it towards the very end of this movie, you miss him. You're like, oh fuck, Hudson, really?
And you haven't seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There is a character death in there that is just you are waiting for him to die because he's so obnoxious.
I mean, slasher movies in particular are infamous for those.
This this guy's in a wheelchair. That's how much you hate him.
Oh, wow, and you still hate him?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Usually that gets you some sympathy points.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
Nice.
No, you're like, fuck yes, kill him.
Equal opportunity murder.
Seriously.
That's important, man.
It is important. They're people too.
Yes, they are people too.
And sometimes they're obnoxious and they need to be
sometimes
chainsawed to death. I'm joking.
Like bad legs or not, assholes are assholes.
But Leatherface. That's his voice. That's what Leatherface says.
Yeah, that is what he sounds like. I know that much.
So yeah, how did they get out of it? I don't remember how they get out of the containment. Did somebody let her out? I think somebody lets her out.
Deus Ex Marine. Hicks and Hudson come by. They shoot at, I remember this distinctly. They shoot the glass, and then Hicks takes a fucking running shoulder. He shoulder checks the fucking window.
He's trying to lose. He's probably. Do you think it's like Treat Williams? Like he's gonna lose his virginity finally? Like he's really.
He can't wait. He's just like I'm
going throwing myself through glass.
Lady, you better be watching.
She's not fish now.
But yeah, Newt has like one of the face huggers pinned to a wall with like a cart.
Or a chair, maybe?
Yeah, its tail is caught between something. So it's like reaching for her and it can't get her. And the animatronics or the puppetry here are very convincing.
Yeah, very good.
Hudson saves her. And then Hicks and Hudson and I think Vasquez. Everybody saves Ripley because she's got the tail around the neck and everything. She's making some noises that people aren't supposed to make, like dying noises.
Yeah.
And we get to see the tongue thing come out of the facehugger. It's like, oh god, that's awful. And they throw it in the corner of the room and then they shoot it.
Yeah.
So both facehuggers down, and we know who's responsible. So we going after Burke. But in the meantime, do you remember, I forget how many times we cut back to Bishop. Like, so the mission here, the way we're gonna get out of this situation is we send Bishop on a mission through like a tunnel, like a Shawshank tunnel, like that's only as wide as his shoulders, and he has to like wiggle miles of tube out beyond the facility so he can get onto like a satellite rig so he can remote control a dropship from the Sulaco in orbit
I forgot about that.
which is pretty fucking creative, like from a writing standpoint. So wow, that's really cool.
Give him something to do.
But there's a little moment here that I really loved where when we're putting him in the tube, I think it's Hudson hands him a pistol and he grabs it and just like hands it back to him.
Yeah.
Like he gives it a once over, like, what? No. Like,
don't need that.
Yeah, he's like, I don't need that. But yeah, this is where Bishop's like essential to the safety of everyone, and of course Ripley's like, this is our only option. I still don't trust it, but this is all we got. So,
this is all we got.
But we keep cutting back to Lance Henriksen. It's just this camera like mashed up in front of his face, and he's lit in blue, and he's got his wrinkly face lit from below in blue light with Ken doll hair and like wiggling down a tube and panting. It's really disturbing.
At least he's not claustrophobic.
Actually, that's a question I asked myself when I was a kid. I was like, oh man, I don't think I could do that.
That would be tough.
I don't think I could
just
do
don't
that.
Just don't think about it. Just go.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
Like you can't stop. That's the thing. Like just don't stop. Just keep moving. It hurts. Don't care. Keep moving. Not stopping.
I guess, but I mean, that would be really rough.
It would be rough,
especially if like you kept. I mean, shutting off that part of your brain telling you like how far it is. Like, is there an end? Am I going to get to the end? Is this where I die?
When I think I told you, like when I run from Montlake up the hill to the top of Capitol Hill, like it's almost a mile uphill, and it's like at a 45-degree angle. Like
when's it gonna stop?
Like, I don't even look up. I literally I remember just running like just keep looking down. Don't even think about don't look up. It's so far.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
And it sucks is I put myself down at the bottom of the hill. I'm like I have to run up the hill because my apartment's all the way at the top of the hill.
I mean, it's gonna suck no matter what. May as well do it quick.
Don't look and don't stop. That's the other thing. Don't stop.
Oh yeah. It's so much harder.
Do not stop.
So much harder. Do not stop.
So it feels good. Like, oh no, it doesn't. We gotta keep going.
It only feels good right now. It's gonna be a lot worse in a second.
So much worse. Oh, man.
But yeah, I believe this sets us up for the first of many climaxes.
Yeah,
there are like 3 climaxes in a row, to be honest. Because
Yeah.
the raid on our facility here. Like our group of heroes when their security gets breached. One of the coolest scenes in the whole movie.
I don't know what you're talking about.
This is when the aliens come in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, raid. I'm like, who the fuck else is here? It's
the
aliens.
Fuck. I mean, I don't want to just talk through the whole movie. I'm trying not to, but it's so easy for me to just do that.
Yeah.
Because I remember like individual shots like in sequence so perfectly. And
so are we setting up the guns here at this point?
We skip past that.
Okay.
That happens when we're doing the whole Bishop thing, like when we're getting set up. But this is when the sentry guns are bypassed and the motion tracker's going nuts. And I think we're actually on our way to go yell at Burke.
Yeah, that's basically what we have to go do.
But the lights shut off, and now everything gets bathed in red, and the motion tracker's going off, and there's a lot of chatter back and forth, like, I think they cut the power. And Hudson's obvious reaction is, what do you mean they cut the power? Like,
it wasn't they cut the power.
Well, I mean, it's up for debate if it was the aliens or if it was Burke, but...
I'm going with Burke.
I mean, the intelligence level of the aliens it's up for grabs. Kind of, they can be as smart or as dumb as you need them to be. Because in like Alien Resurrection, they make them very smart.
I was gonna say here, I think they're still dumbed down.
Well, here I brought this up in the previous episode. The notion of a hive alien as opposed to a singular alien. Mm-hmm. And when you use the word drone, typically you think dumb.
Yeah.
You know, creatures that are focused on a singular task, like seek, gather. So maybe not big in terms of like problem-solving intelligence. So not like bottlenose dolphin smart, more just like cougar smart or something.
Gotcha.
But yeah, everything's red for like the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But holy shit, that first fucking shot when we see the aliens come into the facility. So the motion tracker's going nuts.
Yeah.
And we don't see anything in the room. And we're like backing up and like loading our guns and stuff because like the blips are actually really fucking close. And it's like, where? And it's like, oh, just let's start moving back.
Yeah.
And then Hicks gets up on a desk and he pushes up like one of the ceiling tiles. And we get this shot of him like looking up. And then he turns his head just a little bit. It's not fast. That's what makes it beautiful. It's just a shot of the upper ceiling, so above the ceiling tiles, and his light like pans across the whole view, and we see just an entire wall of aliens slowly crawling upside down towards him, and his reaction is to go, "What the fuck?" Like he screams,
terrifying.
He falls down and he's shooting as he's falling because it's a wall of aliens.
Is there a shot where they're going a little faster when they're in the vents? Because I feel like I remember seeing like a red.
It's so. Well, that's the mastery of the editing of this movie, is that whenever things get actiony, they only actually are showing you half of what you think is there. Mm-hmm. Like your brain is actually making the action way better. Like if you actually look at strictly what's in the film, like they're cutting away from most of the stuff you'd expect to be the good stuff, but they're allowing the editing to take over. And when he falls backwards and he starts shooting, the ceiling tiles start punching out and the aliens start like dropping into the room. Mm-hmm. It's just like one or two at a time. Well, it's a lot of them, but that's again masterful editing because I think they only had a couple of alien suits and somehow they sell you on the illusion of there being a shit ton of them.
All you need to do is have one fall, movement, another fall. Like you just need to have it seem like they're about to drop.
But I defy you to like find an example where it feels janky or like there aren't that many of them in the room.
Yeah, I don't believe I'll be able to find that.
No, it's pretty incredible stuff because really the number of alien costumes they had, like hero costumes that look fantastic from head to toe, was not many.
Gotcha.
But and just the body language of these things is so fucking awesome because like. I don't know if you've ever seen behind the scenes footage of the first Alien.
No, not very much of it, no.
Okay. There are actually a couple of shots in there on the cutting room floor that I think I would have liked to have seen in the finished product. Because Balaji Badajo, I don't think he was an actor, but he's a honest-to-God 7-footer.
Yeah.
He's wearing the alien suit, and he's doing, like, really stiff, like, mechanical movements. Like, there's no urgency in the motions of the first Alien. Like, it's... I think the concept of the way it moved was, quote, alien.
Yeah.
Like, it's meant to be unnerving. There's some, like, behind-the-scenes, like, 8mm type footage of just Ridley Scott just doing test footage. And it's, like, I think the same corridor where Yaphet Kotto gets killed. Mm-hmm. And this guy in this costume is, like, kind of, like, perched up. And it's, like, a circular corridor. And he's, like, perched up, and his stature... Like, you can see his head, like, practically scraping the ceiling. Mm. And if you put another person in frame next to that, like, from head to toe, it would be like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Like, that's a monster. But as far as I recall, you never really get an honest-to-God, like, you never really get a sense of just how big that fucking thing is.
You kind of get it with Harry Dean Stanton, just a little bit, because it kind of rises up.
Yeah, and he's looking up at it.
Yeah, but it's still, like, when he looks up, it goes... close up.
Yeah, you never really see them in the same frame.
No.
And I really would have liked to have seen that.
Maybe just limitations at the time. It wasn't a way to make it look good. Like there's like we can't.
I mean, just seeing it navigate space though, like seeing this thing like have to like bow its head to fit through a doorway, like that's like shit. Like at a distance, imagine that. That's like nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Like imagine my doorway. Like turn around and imagine something large enough that it has to bend over.
You don't have a way
and it's
out.
shaped like a man.
I'm gonna toss this coat and try to get that window. Bet you I can get through.
But yeah, the body language of the aliens in Aliens is more energetic. Like they do a lot of cool stuff where they have like their hands clasped together, like a
raptor.
Yeah, like a predatory animal of some sort, or
a bird.
Yeah, like a bird, and like they even do a thing where they flare their hips out and like kind of pinch their limbs together when they're in midair. It looks right. Yeah. Like it looks really right. And they do a lot of pouncing and a lot of leaping, and holy shit, some of the wire work that they do. There's one shot in particular after the sequence when they're in the elevator where the thing like bounces off 2 walls and then like grabs onto an elevator door. I'll go into detail about it later, but it's a blink. Like it's just a couple of frames. It's like, whoa! Like, that's not how people move.
No.
And that's a big part of selling the illusion of these things not being men in rubber suits. But yeah, the sequence is action-packed. It's just everybody shooting. Yeah. Everybody shooting.
Is this where Vasquez and blonde guy end up?
Yeah, Gorman's awake by now. This is where Hudson buys it. And he goes out in grand fashion. I don't know how many obscenities he yelled, but it's very memorable. Hudson's last stand, I like to call it. Because we're like steadily falling back. Our progress is slowed because Burke is shutting doors behind him, because he's ahead of the group and he's fleeing. And we have to use a torch to burn through the lock of each door that he closes. So it's like, we gotta fucking hustle because there's aliens on our ass. But Hudson's like holding the line by himself. He's cussing at all these aliens. But one comes up to the floor and like yanks him. And do you remember the last shot of him in the film? Oh man, Kyle.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
God damn, man. It's like, I mean, I'm basically, you don't need to watch it. I can just yell at you. Yeah. But basically, he's in the middle of shooting. He's kind of protecting Newt, actually, because they have a thing going. Like she inherits his affirmative. Yeah. But yeah, the alien yanks him down into the floor, and he's like doing everything he can to fight this thing. And his last moment in the film is the aliens have like Spock hands, by the way. They have, I think, more than 5 fingers, but like a couple of their fingers are like attached to each other. Yeah. And it's just an alien hand like half over his face, like pulling him into the floor. And as a child, you're watching this, you're like, no, he's my favorite. Yeah. And Hicks actually has his other hand, and Hudson gets forcefully yanked away from him and into the floor. And then that shot happens where Hicks does his back dive as an alien is jumping over him, and the muzzle flash is like blasting over its rib cage, and just the way the light catches and the way we cut away in like the perfect moment, it's just this perfect fucking shot. I should just put the fucking movie on.
I was gonna say,
Kyle,
I tried to tell you, like,
burn this into your memory.
We should just have it playing in the background while we're talking.
Yeah,
because we talked the length of the movie, so I'm like, we'll get to where we're going.
Yeah, that's the part. Yeah. But yeah, the elevator shot I mentioned with the wire, like it's obviously a stunt man on a wire bouncing off the walls, but this is where Hicks gets incapacitated. Before that, though, is when Gorman and Vasquez buy it.
They're in the tunnel and they blow themselves up.
Yeah, what'd you think of that?
It was a good way to go. It's fine with that.
Well, I mean, I think it's fitting because she was the one who was maybe the most critical of him. Mm-hmm. Like she was the one that called him out about the drop thing. Yeah. Like from minute 1, and her last words, you were always an asshole, Gorman.
They've picked a profession where they're comfortable with dying. Like you just have to be comfortable with dying because it's a very serious possibility with the job, and they've made a career out of it. So I don't think dying is a big deal for them. And this is the moment they're like, you know what? Fuck these things. Like, we get to actually do something good on our way out. Just try to take out a few.
Well, she has it doubly bad because her legs get covered in acid right before that. Yeah. So it's like, you want it quick or slow.
Bad.
Yeah, and
put it to the chest, dude. You're not gonna survive.
Yeah, she gets in close quarters with an alien. I don't know how many times this lady's going to do this before she learns, but she shoots an alien in close quarters and it spurts blood all over her legs. And Gorman comes up and they set off a grenade together. Yeah. we lose Newt. She falls down the sewer.
Yeah.
Is that the shot you were talking about?
Yes, yes. It's the one that I remember the most. When I remember rewatching this, I'm like, I thought this was Alien 3 for some reason. Because I think I watched them back to back with my grandpa. I definitely remember watching Alien 3 with my grandpa. But I misremembered that being a part of the third one. But yeah, she's just kind of in the water. And it doesn't make sense for the alien to do this. The alien would just grab her. But it actually... She's just standing in the water. She's just kind of scared. She doesn't know what to do. The rest of the team's moving has already moved forward. They had to keep going.
Yeah.
And the xenomorph just kind of comes up out of the water, and you see it. This is where you see it to scale, but still, it seems like it's not that big, even for a little girl.
Yeah.
But I remember this being fucking terrifying because when I was a kid, kids dying in movies was like heavy because it's like, oh fuck, like. I didn't think I'm not supposed to die. They're supposed to die. The older people are supposed to die, not me. So she doesn't die here, obviously.
Yeah.
But I thought she did because then I was misremembering her on the slab. In Alien.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that happened. But yeah, that's a beautiful shot. Only knock on it is something that comes from watching the movie too many times and in HD. It's like... The way the alien comes out of the water, its tail is obviously suspended on a wire, and there's like a little bend in it where it would not be natural, like against physics. Like it's like, well, just had to get that glamorous tail up.
Again, this was made before we were gonna have video renting. This was gonna be played in the theater, or even this with Alien. Like this is gonna be played in the theater. Maybe in like 10 years, we're gonna bring it back to the theater, bring it back again. The home video thing wasn't the plan.
And again, that's where the mastery of the editing comes in, where it's like, actually, a lot of those images you thought you saw were just filled in, by your brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, this begins the whole end game of the movie, where
end game number 2.
Yeah, this is end game number 2 or 3. Oh yeah, Burke he gets fucked.
He gets his.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't open up the door and the fucking thing's there.
Yeah, his death doesn't. I mean, I guess it makes sense because if one came through the floor to get Hudson, it stands to reason that there's many ways they can get in. But basically, he goes into a back room and he thinks he's
safe.
Yeah, he thinks he's safe and he ditched everyone. But as it so happens, there's an alien in there with him and it eats his face.
Yeah.
Straight up eats his face. Like I guess it just didn't like him or something, or maybe it smelled him and maybe he had like a venereal disease or something that would kill the chest burster. And it's like, nope, you dead.
Or they maybe just pieces of shit have a smell.
Yeah, it's like, you smell like shit, human. I'm gonna eat you.
Shooter McGavin leave you in the bowl this morning.
Oh man, Chris McDonald in the Aliens movie. I would love that.
I was thinking. James Cameron had already successfully worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger at this point. He's too big of a star to be in this movie. Like, just to go with this cast, I would say. He would steal too much from Sigourney Weaver. Like, you can't have... I'd say that she's the main character, and she's assertive enough. We don't need a big beefcake there doing stuff as well. And, honestly, if you're going to have him replace one of the team... I'm going with Bill Paxton. I think that'd be kind of a fun role for him. Yeah. To kind of be scared. Like, he's never scared, but that'd be kind of a fun role. But I was thinking, like, why wasn't Arnold in here? I'm like, it's just too much. Like, it's not his type of action movie.
I mean, Abe Pone was perfectly cast.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Chris McDonald doing something like that. And that's part of the reason Abe Pone was so perfect, is because he's the security blanket.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that's like, oh, if anything bad happens, I'll just listen to Sarge. He's one of the first to get it.
Michael Ironside would have been a good Burke, I think. I think he could have been a little weaselly too, even for like a big guy. I feel like
he's too slimy, dude.
Too slimy? Too slimy.
Yeah, he's too scary. Like the aliens would just be like, ugh. Like, I ain't fucking with them.
I think Michael Shannon is the new Michael Ironside. I think. With more leading or more prominent.
See, that's
roles.
another candidate for Brothers. That would be Brothers 2.
Oof.
It'd be Michael Ironside and Michael Shannon.
Dad and son.
Oh, yeah, Papa Ironside.
That's scary.
Yeah, Dad. He said, son, come to the party.
I'm gonna use your hammer later. You will not be reimbursed for it. I'm gonna throw it in the fucking river when I'm done with it.
Oh, you're pretty good at that.
I like me some Michael Shannon.
Apparently. Michael Ironside's really tough because you got to be really Canadian and really angry.
But he has such a his swagger would fit in this in this kind of movie where he can be really serious, but he can also kind of be a dick. Like I'm gonna do.
Come on, you apes! You want to live forever?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Talking about
What are you apes talking about?
Space Canada.
No joke. That's what it would have to be.
What about Miguel Ferrer?
Oh, yeah, he'd be great.
I think he would have been a good Burke. I would have liked that.
Oh, yeah. No, he would fill in just fine.
Swarmy, is that the word I want to use?
Smarmy.
There we go. Smarmy.
Yeah.
Smarmy. It's an M.
Yeah.
Not swarmy. Swarly. Swarly.
Now we're just making up words.
Swarly's from How I Met Your Mother.
Okay. Must have missed that one.
Anyway, so this is where I get a little hazy. Is we definitely have to go back and find Newt.
Yeah, James Cameron tradition. Gotta go back.
Gotta go back, bro. Yeah. So are they headed? Like, who's left at this point?
Hicks is injured. When the aforementioned wire gag at the elevator happens, they kill the alien. Mm-hmm. However, its acid gets on his chest. Thankfully, he's wearing an armored vest, but he gets burned.
Yeah,
he gets burned real bad, and he's down for the count basically for the rest of the movie. And then Ripley had a motion tracker that actually Hicks gave to her, and then she gave to Newt. So she's freaking out because she knows that Newt
is still alive.
She's insistent that Newt is still alive.
Yeah.
And because she knows about the tracker, she knows that she can find her, given the opportunity. So she and Hicks reconnoiter with Bishop, and we have a dropship now.
Yeah.
And it's just them, and we get this really, really awesome composite shot. It's like a green screen, I think, or a blue screen, but it's the model of the dropship flying through like an industrial zone. That's just like, it looks like from a Super Nintendo game, just like fire and explosions and like metal piping.
Yeah.
And they're like flying back in, and she's like, Bishop, we are going the fuck back.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's gonna blow. But you're giving me an order, so I have to do it.
Yeah.
So we get a load up montage. She does this really badass thing where she takes a flamethrower and a pulse rifle and tapes them together. Mm-hmm. So she's carrying both, which must weigh a ton.
Oh, by the way, this is the best Sigourney Weaver haircut through the franchise. It's the best one.
It's a helmet. It's protection.
The first movie, I didn't like it. It was too long. This one, I'm like, it's okay.
She had like a Little Richard thing going on the first one.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. The third one, she has a shaved head. Still attractive with the shaved head, I'll say. And then the fourth one, I don't know what's on her head in the fourth one. It's wet, greasy.
It looks stinky.
It does not look good.
I mean, to quote George Costanza, if you put your hand in it, can you get it out? That is an important question.
What is it with bad haircuts in this franchise? Because we get to
Tom Skerritt has the worst, I think.
It's bad. Penn and Tom Skerritt. Prometheus, Noomi Rapace, awful haircut.
Yeah.
What's her face from Alien Covenant?
Oh, I don't remember her name.
Bad. Catherine Waterston.
That is maybe the worst haircut.
I'm going to go with Sigourney Weaver's haircut in Alien Resurrection is the worst of the haircuts of the main female.
Haircut is Waterston. Hairdo. The way her hair is did.
Okay, so there's a moment in Alien, I should have mentioned it at the beginning, and I think I took a screenshot and sent it to you. Tom Skerritt's watch at one point. The double-faced. He's wearing a watch that has two faces. So it's like one face, a little bit of space, and then another face. I've never seen a watch like it. I posted it on Reddit, asked if anybody had seen the watch before. Nobody's seen it before. I don't know where to get it. I want to find this watch if it's possible.
It's probably made by the prop department, and it's probably an attempt to make it future.
It is supposed to be future, but I'm like, it's awesome. I want this watch so bad.
It's like, if I miss the first one, I can't possibly miss the second one.
But anyway, we get now we have to go back and get Newt.
Yeah,
for crying out loud.
We get a long sequence where she goes back into the facility and she shoots a lot of fire at nothing. It's like, that's the honest to God truth.
10 minutes of this movie is her shooting fire at nothing.
Yeah, she shoots a lot of fire at a lot of nothing. She's dropping a lot of flares though, which is a nice visual storytelling bit where she's literally laying breadcrumbs for her way back. Like, it's a small detail, but I appreciate it. And she goes all the way back into the hive, and she's following the motion tracker. And if I remember right, she has like a breakdown moment where she finds the tracker but not Newt, and she starts freaking out.
Yeah.
But then she finds Newt, so it's okay. And she gets there just in time too, because the face hugger's coming at Newt. She kills it, and then I think she has Newt on her shoulder, and then the queen. The introduction of maybe the coolest thing in the whole franchise, if you ask me. But some people
disagree.
Some people think the queen has no business being in the Alien franchise. I think it's fucking amazing.
It works here. The problem is that the movies that it's in later are bad. Therefore, it doesn't work. Like, we didn't need it. But there is an iconic shot of Sigourney Weaver with the flamethrower, like just walking through. And somebody took a quote from the New York Times. I guess a writer, or somebody said that Wonder Woman is finally the first like strong female lead we have in an action. We're like, those of us sci-fi nerds. I'm like, she's been here for a while, dude.
And Mila Jovovich had a career.
Yeah, I would say Mila.
Kate Beckinsale had a career.
Kate Beckinsale. Like, yeah, guys, I mean, I can see where they'd be like, well, actually, Mila Jovovich gets pretty scantily clad in those movies, and Kate Beckinsale's in a pretty
scantily clad in those movies directed by her husband.
Yeah, I think win some, lose some. I think we're gonna have to counter that. I'm like, you know what? It's her husband. She agreed to it. Yeah, and they know how to make money. By the way, those movies, they made money.
Those Resident Evil movies clean the fuck up.
Why are there 7 of them? Look at the box office.
Simple as that.
But yeah, I loved. Anytime I think about this movie now, I think about that shot, and I'm like,
I mean, it is like one of the. I think it was used as many of the posters. I'm pretty sure it's on the soundtrack that I bought at one point.
Her on the back of it, like with the flamethrower.
Usually she's carrying Newt.
I think she has Newt. Yeah.
And that's it. There's no aliens on the screen or anything. It's just her. And it's a great image. It's an iconic image.
Maybe there should be like, there's no strong female leads in mainstream action movies. I'm like, that's fair, but because these are niche audiences.
Yeah, that's kind of fair.
Yeah, I'll give them that. Yeah. Anyway, the Queen.
The Queen. The introduction of the Queen is money.
Yeah.
The whatever structure, biological structure that's suspending her, and her built-in backlighting.
I'm misremembering a little bit. Does she have a chain on? No, is that AVP?
That's AVP, dude.
I'm misremembering.
Jesus fuck.
Yeah.
No.
Because they have her chained up and they bite her out of it, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm misremembering.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, so she's like suspended against the ceiling, and she has her giant egg sac ass.
Yeah.
It's a queen ant or a queen termite's ass. I can't remember the whole name of the character, but Earthworm Jim, the last boss of the game, is Queen Slug for a Butt.
Slug for a Butt? I'm wondering where they got that.
I mean, it's intentional, but her name is actually like a Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Apu Ah, or the name is like longer than the character. Mm-hmm. It's not just Slug for a Butt. It's like.
Did you just drop a fish? That's the state. Is that the state fish of Hawaii?
I don't know if it's the state fish, but
what is it?
Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Apu Ah.
It is. That is the state fish of Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah. The joke is that the name is longer than the fish.
That's funny. I've never heard anybody say that outside of Forgetting Sarah Marshall, because that's how I know that that's the state fish.
It's like, they call me Q-New. It's like, does that have some deep Hawaiian meaning? Chris!
Means Chuck. Yeah. But anyway, sorry. So.
But yeah, she got her egg sac ass, and we get to see again the way you introduce monsters in stages. Mm-hmm. So we get to see like its armored head like bowed, and it needs to be said the thing's head is the size of a Buick.
Yeah, it's huge.
And we get to see like a long pan shot just showing the sheer size of this egg sac ass. Then it has like an ovipositor coming out the ass, and it like poops out an egg, and it's all juicy and nasty. And then we see Ripley like looking around, just like, fuck me. Yeah. And then
this is, I think I would probably, I'm like that kid's dead. Like, I just got to turn around. Like, we're gone.
No, it's like one of those moments where it's like, well, what I love here is this again, the stillness, mm-hmm. the confidence in the editing, where it's like, we don't need to be in a hurry. We don't need to have anybody make any snappy moves here. She's just like,
drink it in.
Well, it's like when she was isolated with the alien in the first movie, where she's like, if I don't make any sudden movements, maybe it doesn't notice me. I don't know, but whatever I'm doing right now, it's not killing me just yet. So it's like I have a gun, I have a flamethrower. Obviously, this thing is aware of my presence, but it's not doing anything yet.
Yeah.
So don't shoot. And we get this long moment of stillness, and then the breathing kicks in. Again, audio memories. The breathing sound that the alien queen makes, so perfect.
I can't remember it.
It's like almost like a sinister like hiss, or it's like.
Damn it! I'll not watch this one. I don't know which one's less than 2.5 hours.
I don't know. I'd have to pull it off the shelf, but yeah, it's just doing this. And then we see it like has this like almost like a turtle shell thing where it can like kind of stick its head out and pull it and retract it a little bit. And we see the whole head, and it rears its head up, and it's like, whoa, that is a real prop that's in the room. Holy shit, that's huge. Good job, Stan Winston. Yeah. And then the cool part is that she has bodyguards. Like the queen has like a couple of aliens, and Ripley's waving a flame around. And there's this really cool bit of visual storytelling where like one of the bodyguards like takes a step, and the queen like snaps at him a little bit, like, hey, cut the shit. It's like,
that's fire.
Yeah, that's fire.
Fire.
That's fire. Those are my kids who have yet to be born. Yeah. You're already born. You're already a letdown.
You are expendable.
It's like you've already served your purpose. You're worthless. But yeah, long story short.
Looks like you missed one, motherfucker. Yeah.
You had one job.
One job.
One fucking job. But I love the little head tilt that Ripley gives here before she sets fire to the whole throne room. Like she just like looks around. She's like sees that when she like flares the flame out a little bit, the queen flips out. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "You don't like that? Well, I don't like you." So she just kind of like gives it like a oh. It's very catty.
Does the queen start screaming?
Yeah.
She's super pissed.
Yeah. Arms flailing the whole bit, and Ripley shoots a lot of aliens here. Yeah. And I love that the first alien that she shoots, though, she actually kind of fumbles the gun. Like, she like has the safety on or something, and she's like, duh, duh, duh. And then she gets it. And then it's just a killing spree. She sets fire to the whole place. Alien Queen comes off of its egg sac thing and sets off in hot pursuit. And we get the elevator escape sequence. And, it's a big, long chase here. Ripley gets back on the platform where Bishop left her, but he's not there. She's like, in fact, she even took the time to like tell Hicks, whatever the fuck happens, do not let that piece of shit leave without me. Yeah. And Hicks like, we're not going anywhere. It's like, Hicks, you're half conscious. Yeah. Like, and of course Bishop shows up, and the best piece of music in the whole movie happens here. I think it's called Bishop's Countdown. There's a piece of trailer music that was really prevalent in the 90s called like Code Red or something. And I'm going to try my best to emulate it here. It goes You've heard it. You existed in the 90s. You've heard
I've heard it.
It's basically an imitation of the piece of music that happens in this movie. Amazing piece of music. Bishop saves Ripley. They ditch the queen. They head off in orbit. Nuclear explosion from orbit. They get back to the Sulaco. Hicks is put in stasis, and everything seems chill.
Of course it does.
But it's not. So we're in the loading bay, and do you remember how this whole showdown happens here?
No, I don't. All I remember...
Well, do you remember what happens to Bishop?
I know Bishop gets his face slapped. I know he gets beheaded, but I can't remember.
Substantially more than that.
So I'm hazy. I can't remember.
Oh man. So what happens here is that we have the drop ship in the bay of the Sulaco. We have a relaxing moment. Ripley finally seems to be like coming around to Bishop because I mean he bailed her out. He saved the day kind of. And then like there's just a lull in the conversation, and they both kind of look down, and we get a shot at their feet of a pool of acid like burning in the floor. It's just like, and then they both kind of look up at each other, and tail.
Oh yes,
tail just comes right through the back of Bishop and out his chest.
I was when you said that tail, I'm like, oh yeah, it goes through the Predator AVP.
Yeah. I mean, same difference, except Bishop gets bisected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love when the tail's like through his chest because poor Lance Henriksen, he's like holding on to Ripley. He's like holding onto her shirt, and she's just like,
Get the fuck off me.
Don't touch me.
Yeah.
And he's barfing milk into the air in slow motion, going, and he gets lifted off the ground. And we see the Queen like cradled up against the underside of the dropship. So it's just been hanging out there in fucking space. Like, she not happy.
I was going to let you know this latest season of Archer has been taking place in space, and there's a lot of obscure Star Wars, Alien, and various sci-fi movie references. Obscure ones that only like you would really be able to like catch. They're very subtle. So
That sounds like it would drive me nuts.
it's done really well. It's funny. It's very funny.
I understood that reference. I understood that. Stroke.
Krieger becomes a cyborg, and he talks about the milk. I'm losing milk. It's really funny.
Nice. Yeah. Bishop gets torn in half.
Yeah.
Not just head off. Torn in half.
Yeah.
And the top half is still functional because he's a robot.
Yeah.
He's very milky.
Very milky.
But yeah, the Queen gives chase, and Ripley takes off running, but I forget exactly how this happens. I don't know if like she like pushes Newt's like one side, girl.
Pretty much, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, she takes off into a sprint, and Newt is somehow left behind, and she's like she ducked into a vent, and we get a couple minutes of the Queen like pulling up vents and like stalking around the room, and is just about to grab Newt, and she does her scream because she only has one scream. Yeah. And then power loader.
Yeah.
Get that absolutely iconic shot of the bay doors opening, backlit up the ass. Ripley found herself a power loader.
Does she call her bitch at this point?
Get away from her, you bitch!
It's a vicious bitch.
Oh, snappy, just like
bitch.
It's like a projectile.
Pop.
It's like, ow, my eye.
There's some. I feel like the Alien Queen doesn't move very quickly.
She does and she doesn't. All credit to the special effects department. There are legitimately a couple of shots here and there where I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Because I know there's a miniature. I know there's a puppet. I know there's a full-size animatronic. And there's a couple of moments here and there where I'm like, I'm not sure which one I'm looking at.
Yeah.
All I know is I'm looking at a physical prop and it makes me happy.
Yeah. It's refreshing. Even if it's like, I can kind of tell that's fake. I can tell that's fake. But I'm like, you know what? At least I know that it's fake. And I can, if I was in the same room, I could touch it. Unlike pretty much anything else that's out now.
Well, what's really cool here is just the choreography. Obviously, Ripley fights the Alien Queen in the power loader, but what's really neat about the way the scene is choreographed is not that it's like thrilling or anything. It's in slow motion.
Yeah.
It's like they're underwater. But but again, all credit to the prop departments. The agility of the Queen far surpasses the power loader, where it's like it looks like an animal stalking a machine. Like it looks appropriate.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look like you're looking at a Chuck E. Cheese robot struggling to, pretend to strum a banjo or something. It looks like a functional creature.
Yeah.
And they do a really good job of marrying the two types of footage that they have. It's a really close quarters fight. There's some cool beats where Ripley has the things like head cinched between the pincers, and like she's snapping her tongue at Ripley and getting like inches away from her face. So there's like a real sense of danger. It's not like she's wearing an armored suit where she's protected. She's in clear and there's a clear and present danger.
Yeah.
But the whole thing ends with, again, airlock.
Yeah.
Because at this point, this is only the second movie in the franchise, but we're already like paying homage to what came before. Which, it's up for debate if that's a good thing or not. Some people think it's
An easy out.
some people think it's like a crutch to lean on tradition and like what came before too heavily. In this case, it feels appropriate.
I think it's a crutch in Alien Covenant. Here, it's appropriate.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, we tumble down into this pit, and Ripley gets beat up here.
Yeah.
But the power loader is on top of the Alien Queen, and there's this one shot where she's climbing a ladder out of the pit, and the power loader is on top of the Queen, and the way the Queen is moving underneath it looks real. Like it looks like an actual animal. It looks like when you have a fish like in a bucket or something. Like it's like flipping and flopping around. It doesn't look happy. But yeah, we get the dramatic beat where her arms should be torn from their sockets because she like opens the airlock and is like holding herself on the ladder. You did.
Your arm is coming out, even if you do hold on long enough. If your grip is stronger than your arm socket, then yeah.
Well, not only that, the queen actually grabs her foot.
Oh no.
Yeah, your leg is coming off, and then your arm's coming off.
You're going with her.
And she literally like kicks her shoe off, and the queen flies out into space, and we get the worst special effect in the whole movie, where it's the that actually might be stop motion of the alien queen flying into the camera, going. Ah!
That might be.
It's terrible.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's one
fine.
shot out of God knows how many.
I'll allow it. It's totally fine.
But yeah, everybody's safe. Bishop gets to say his cool line. He's like, "Not bad for a human," but he says it through milk barf.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, when the airlock is open, I did notice that like he grabs Newt. Like she's flying towards the door, and he's like, "Nope."
Yeah.
Even when he's cut in half, he's still trying to do good.
He's trying to, yeah.
Yeah, he's trying, and he ends up in an unfortunate state in Alien 3, but, poor Bishop, he can't get a break.
Next conversation. And a reanimation that is much better, I would say. That one of the things that the third one does better than the first one, it might be the only thing the third one does better than the first one, is the reanimating of the
the animatronic work on Bishop in the third one's actually really good.
It's really, really good.
I remember that scene really well because that was actually the first thing I ever saw about that movie. I think I saw that scene in particular way before I saw the rest of the movie.
I'm anxious to talk about that one.
Me too, because that one was the first one that I was aware of when it came out.
That's the first. Yeah, I was just saying. I think I was a kid when that one. I was aware of that one.
Yeah, no, I remember like the marketing, and I remember like Evening Magazine covering it. Yeah. I was like, wow, like I want to see that.
Yeah.
And I remember they had like an alien exhibit at the Seattle Center.
Oh man. Oh, my brother and I went to a sci-fi exhibit when he was in town a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
I got pictures from it. Yeah. The Xenomorph, Terminator stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
It was really cool.
I would love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, by the way, I've been just like endlessly prattling on about this movie. It means quite a bit to me. But,
yeah.
But yeah, the ending of the movie is everybody going into stasis, and you get the sense that easily could have been the closing the book on the alien story.
Yeah, that could have.
Yeah, I mean, Ripley found a family, you can assume. Like, her attachment to Newt seemed substantial to the point that maybe adoption was a possibility, especially considering how much time had passed. Like, whoever she knew when she was, well, before the incident or whatever, probably long gone.
Well, the problem is with this movie, with this creature, and same with the Predator, Hellraiser, Freddy Krueger, it's such cool makeup effects and creature design that you can't not keep making those movies because people want to keep seeing them.
Well, that's what's interesting, though, is that the alien itself, it's not like there's a singular alien that's driving the franchise. Like, Freddy Krueger is the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. You cannot make one of those movies without him. Same with Jason Voorhees, unless you're counting the first one, or the worm
third one. The third one, because he's not even Jason in the first two.
He's in the second one. He's not in the fifth one.
No, I'm saying the design. I'm talking about just the design.
Oh, the hockey mask.
Just
yeah, he's Baghead in the second
he's
one.
just the bag.
But the point I'm trying to make is that in the case of Alien, it's not like a singular iconic creature. It's a design.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think maybe the mistake may have been latching onto Ripley as as the thing anchoring the whole franchise.
Yeah.
Because I mean, early in this episode, I rattled off a bunch of like comic books and an Aliens vs. Predator video game, none of which have anything to do with Ripley. Well, the comics had stuff to do with Ripley, except those were the bad ones.
We'll talk about the problems of the third one, but they should have closed it out with the third one.
Well, I mean, the point is, like, and I think Marvel and Disney and stuff are getting wise to this now, is that technically you don't need to have like a singular branding for like Alien franchise. Like, you don't have to have a Ripley character, although in Covenant they had Waterston suddenly turn into a Ripley at the end out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You don't need to have that. It's just that whoever is fronting the bill or writing the scripts is insisting on retaining those elements. It's like, no, you really could just have the alien in a movie that has nothing to do with any of the other movies.
But I feel like it's hard for, at least the Alien movies, it's hard to get away from creating such a strong female lead, especially with the climate now. Like this is perfect. We have to keep making this movie. We have to keep doing this.
That's a good way to draw positive attention towards your studio.
Yeah, and even though they're placating a bit, I think at this point, yeah, they did it so organically with the first 2 movies. And the third one,
Third one's just a mess.
it's a mess. It's a mess. But these first 2 movies, they do such a good job with the character. And Noomi Rapace does, I mean, like the movie or not, like, there's 2 pretty strong female leads in that movie. Charlize Theron and Noomi Rapace.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things that's like, it's not a bad thing that it's there, but you shouldn't be strictly adhering to that out of obligation. You should be focused on telling a good story.
I mean, we ditched the beefcakes for Predator. I mean, we definitely have cycled off as the movies have progressed. I mean, not Danny Glover was still, he's still a pretty big guy, but he's all the Deca and D-ball that was in that first movie. I can say that much.
Like the whole cast.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Protein farts and roid rage.
I feel bad for Shane Black on that set.
He was big. What are you talking about? Shane Black was ripped.
Compared to those other guys?
Shane Black just has a bit smaller head. If you look at the he's
compared to Carl Weathers?
He was doing arm day with Arnold, dude. I'm telling you right now. Like he was working out.
Whoever played Poncho then?
Even Billy was big. Yeah, that nerd.
Yeah. Poncho was the skinny one.
Yeah.
Billy was the scariest one on the set.
Yeah, he wasn't even the
biggest.
biggest.
You don't fuck with Billy.
No,
he wasn't big. He was just mean and scary.
Yeah, just as it progresses. But anyway.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a big advocate for the surprise Batman movie, is what I like to call it. Like the concept of like having a Batman movie that isn't revealed to be a Batman movie until like 2/3 of the way through or something.
Well, I know what you mean.
Or like the example that I always throw out there is Man-Bat. Like Man-Bat was the character in the pilot for the Batman animated series.
Yeah,
it's a werewolf but a bat.
I saw that one.
Yeah,
I recently rewatched it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Imagine a Man-Bat movie where Batman shows up very sparingly, like maybe even towards the conclusion of it.
Yeah, it would never happen now.
No, it would never happen because Batman's too powerful an icon. You as a marketer for a film, you would be remiss to keep Batman out of the marketing materials for a movie.
Well, King Kong's not public domain, is it? Like the character, is it owned?
No, Legendary owns him.
Legendary, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because Deep Rising tried to, I think they tried to get a King Kong movie or
the end of that movie certainly seemed like a Skull Island movie.
Skull Island or dinosaurs, but there are dinosaurs in the original King Kong, so it could have gone either way. I'm like, that's a cool way to introduce King Kong. Like, but what? This is a part of a King Kong movie?
King Kong versus a giant octopus thing?
All right.
I mean, now that I think about it, he's already done that like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, they say
him and Kong does not like octopus, or maybe he does like octopus and he likes the way they taste.
I say he kills him in that Skull Island, doesn't he?
Yeah, he kills it in Skull Island. He kills it in King Kong versus Godzilla. I think he kills it in one of the other Japanese Godzilla / King Kong movies. He kills a lot of octopuses, dude.
A lot of octopi.
Octopi, sure. But yeah, we're totally off track.
Oh yeah.
Point being, obviously, I think this movie's amazing. I could talk about it all fucking day long. Just alien movies in general, but I don't know, Kyle. Do you feel like you learned anything today, or do you feel like you got any notes in mind for next time around?
I feel like I need to go back and rewatch this one because it has been a while. I've seen it several times, but it's just been a while since I've seen it. And like we said, like the first 2, I kind of get mixed up occasionally. I'm like, wait, which one?
And apparently AVP.
And AVP. Well, now that I think about it, like, I feel like it. There's a queen. Bishop's death is exactly how the alien kills it. Like, and I've seen that movie quite a bit as well, so it all kind of gets jumbled.
Missing out.
But yeah, I'm gonna go back and rewatch this one. I think I'm gonna look for some more stuff. I'm gonna pay attention more to the score in this one.
Okay, well, yeah, you absolutely should. You absolutely should. But I feel like Alien 3 is gonna be interesting because there's simultaneously so much to say about it and so little.
Yeah.
Because like from a personal standpoint, the movie means very little to me.
Yeah.
But there's a lot going on there.
Aesthetically, I fucking love it.
It's a David Fincher film.
I just want to look. I just want to watch it. Like I just want to see.
No, the lighting's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that there was such potential. That's why it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it's it's not strictly a bad movie. It's just troubled.
Yeah.
In many, many, many ways.
In the xenomorph portion of it, it's just
It's top to bottom. If I remember right, the story goes they actually started making it without a script.
Yeah, you don't do that.
You don't do that.
Don't do that.
Especially when it's a first-time director, and it's David Fincher, who, if you give him support, obviously can make some incredible fucking movies.
I feel like Coppola could probably do it, and then Werner Herzog. I feel like Herzog could do it.
I don't know if I could put up with an hour-long wedding scene in an Alien movie.
Yeah, you're right.
Imagine that. The first hour of the movie is Ripley getting married.
Everyone says the second Godfather movie is so good. I'm like, the first one's good. The second one, it is a snooze for me.
Yeah, I mean, off the cuff, I'll just say I think I prefer the first one.
The first one's
but
good.
To be honest, those movies don't mean a whole lot to me. I only saw them for the first time fairly recently. But yeah, I think I like the first one best.
It's fine.
That being said, thank you so much as we continue our masterclass on the Alien franchise. Tune in next week for Alien 3.
Yes.